This is the Mountainside Podcast, and joining us back in studio once again is my good friend Jeremiah Wilber. He's a former Green Beret who served 20 years in the United States Army with multiple rotations in Afghanistan and Iraq. Post-military career, Jeremiah has continued to serve communities through War Party Movement and War Party Ranch, helping to combat human trafficking, domestic violence, empowering women, and so much more. Jeremiah is truly one of my favorite people to be around. This was a great episode. Enjoy our conversation. My brother, back in the studio, dude. Thank you so much for these gifts.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude.
This is rad, dude.
Yeah, it's the Kilo Pedals line. Kind of did it to, I really like that design of the Full Metal jacket. And wanted to like make it, the cap logo, Kilo Pedals. Obviously, we're not out there killing pedals, but I think that,
maybe
it's a cool attitude. Yeah, it's a cool attitude to have, and it just kind of goes along with like War Party, as far as like us always wanting to have that like warrior theme, warrior mindset.
That's so rad.
Protecting kids especially.
And this feather is amazing, dude. It's going on the table along all these challenge coins. And
so that's made by Kaya Perez. She lives down in Texas. Amazing lady. She makes those for us, and they're all handmade. They're all a little bit different, even if it's the same design. She's just amazing artist. So you guys can definitely check her out, and she does custom stuff too, so anybody can hit her up and put in an order, on something custom they like.
Got to get it out of this plastic.
Yeah. So it's
not deserving.
Yeah, so it's a camo. She painted the feather camouflage and then added the cap logo to it. Super cool. We put those all on our hats. Like hat feathers have a lot of significance in the cowboy world. And for me, being native, like mine, like I have a conch on mine. My mom always had those, and we put them on our hats, and has a lot of spiritual meaning for us. And then the feather, this feather I have, actually one of my buddies gave it to me. The 4 stripes mean you've counted coup in battle. So one of my buddies, he's Métis Indian from Canada. We were in Afghanistan together, and he gave me this feather. So
got the matching shirt too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
that's
for
badass.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate you, man. The least I can do is bring you a little bit of sweat.
Hat, but I love having this stuff in the studio. Like this is the most sentimental stuff to me in the studio, just because it's all been earned or a friendship give or something like that.
Yeah,
it's not shit you can just go out and buy, right? Like you can't go get some of these challenge coins or like that feather. It's super cool to me. So thank you, bro.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I appreciate you. This is crazy. This is I think your 4th or 5th time.
I think this will be my 3rd time by myself, and Micah and I did one together.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Man, what an amazing woman.
Yeah, she's killer,
dude.
man.
I got to have her back on too, solo.
Yeah, for sure.
If she's down.
Yeah, sure she'd be down.
Yeah. I had such a good time with you guys that day. But yeah, our friendship has been as long as the podcast. We're going on 5 years.
Yeah, man.
That's really cool. We've had so many people in and out of here, but
yeah, I think I met you like right when I retired.
Okay.
Yeah, like shortly after I retired.
Yeah, it was right after that.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember when you text me or sent me a DM, I was grabbing my bags in San Diego and headed to Beto's shop to record there.
Yeah.
And you sent me a DM like while I was on the plane, and I was texting with you at the airport. So that's kind of cool. Like that's a memory that's burned in. That was the first time I had been to Beto's shop.
Nice.
Since he moved it out of his like backyard.
Yeah, he's crushing, dude. It's so cool to see. They're actually him and Dan Henderson are actually sponsoring a golf tournament, and War Party.
You guys are too. Yeah.
War Party Ranch is one of the recipients for the golf tournament. So super cool. They're doing a celebrity golf tournament down there in San Diego in August.
That's so rad.
Excited. Yeah, and I'm just like, man, thank you for Half Face Blades, sponsoring the event and doing what they do for the community and for veterans. And Dan and his sister, I believe they're like me. I think they're half breed. They're from they're Umatilla from Pendleton, Oregon.
Okay.
So they wanted to support. They love supporting the veterans, and they also were looking for something to help support the Native community. So they picked War Party Ranch, which was really cool.
Win-win.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's cool to see like since I retired and started social media and started War Party and just meeting people, like all of these things come full circle of like. The rad people stand out. The people that are really doing stuff for the right reasons, like, the wannabes filter themselves out through time, but the people who are real, they stay there for, like I said, been retired for 5 years and those same, the good folks have been there through that whole ride for me, you know, which is really cool.
I feel the same way about the podcast, man, because like we've had a few of those guys on, you know, just by accident.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the real ones, like you're definitely a real one. Beto's definitely a real one. Just like you guys don't ask for anything ever, which kind of makes me upset sometimes.
I mean,
like, I want my friends to call me, but I'm the same way. Like, I don't think I've ever asked you or Beto for anything. And I've never asked him for like a free blade or anything, you know? It's like...
Yeah, same. And I think like, I'm one of those guys, you know, like support your friends. You know what I mean? Like your friends have a company, you want to support it. It's like, you know, the minimum you could do that's free is like post about it, share it, whatever, you know, and then there's like, you know, buy stuff and try to support them and, you know, whatnot. So that's, you know, that's how I look at things.
I feel like a half-faced blade salesman, dude. Like,
oh yeah, no, me too.
People I probably sold a few hundred. I
love knives. I have more knives than I have guns. I've carried a knife since I was like 6. Yeah. I think my first knife was like an old timer. I think a little pocket knife from my grandfather, but I've always had knives, and yeah, I have a couple of half-face knives. Micah and Derek actually got me a killer knife from Half Face for Christmas. That I was like, opened it up and I was like, oh my god, like, are you kidding me? Like, it was one of the one of his like one of his drops that is, you know, like never do it again type of those drops,
like a limited edition.
Yeah, it's like it's like a bronze blade with like a. I don't know what everything's made of. When I go down there and I see him, I say, hey, what's in this thing? You know, but it's got turquoise inlay and gold inlay.
Oh,
like,
wow.
It's like, I know I use my knives too. But it's one of those ones where I'm like, dude, I don't know if I want to use it.
Yeah. It's funny because the first blade that he ever made me, when I hit him up, they're the best gifts for me to give. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm going to give somebody something special, I give them a half-face blade typically. Yeah. But so I was having the first one I ever ordered from him was a gift for somebody. But then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get myself one of these too. Because I don't know how long he's going to be doing this. And like, this was still like in the backyard. And I was like, you know, it'd look cool if it had like blood on the handle. Mm-hmm. And he came up with like this red rosin and burl wood. And
oh, cool.
So it's been kind of like my signature. So I hunted with that knife. Yeah. Like I probably skinned and field dressed at least 3 elk with it and probably 4 or 5 muleys.
Nice.
And then when he started building the utilitarian, like kind of more series where it's just like kind of the same design, but not all the rock work and, and kind of like a G10 handle and all that sort of stuff. I was like, I gotta replace this with just the utilitarian one. Yeah. So now I like carry around you know, and then that one's in the gun safe, you know, with all this stuff.
It just, that one's really cool. I mean, it kind of, I guess if I was to describe, you know, my cowboy style, I guess, you know, a lot of people don't know a lot of the cowboy history, but my grandfather's a buckaroo, you know, from San Diego back in the, you know, early 30s before he went to the war. And that is all based in like the vaquero system, you know, the very traditional vaquero style of the Californios. They moved up into like the Great Basin area. And then that's where the term buckaroo comes from. It's from white people not being able to say vaquero. So it like kind of becomes buckaroo. Okay. Horsemanship changes a little bit. There's some different things like they use a snaffle bit because they're just riding so many horses. So there's some things like that, but the way they dress, the kind of the gear they do, they're a little more flashy. And typically with the Californios is like the flashier the guy was, like all his bits and his spurs and these big all this crazy stuff. His horse is even flashier. Like he's never touching his horse with his spurs. He's never like it's the horse. The levels of horsemanship for those guys were just so elite. But a lot of that style has like transferred over. And then like you look at Texas, so you have that kind of the other influence was like yes the vaqueros and like how everything started in Texas, but then like the puncher comes about. So it's like what more people think about is like the puncher style. A lot of people cowboy more towards like the Texas way. I would say, you know, running rubber on their horns and stuff, using shorter ropes. But as you look at those two cowboys as they move like from California to the Great Basin, they kind of floods into, you know, Idaho and like obviously from Nevada, you know, Utah, Idaho, Montana, a little bit of Wyoming. The mountains kind of separate it. So then there's this heavy Texas influence that comes up all the way back up through Alberta as well. So they kind of meet and bleed in the center. So in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, you get this like crazy mix of kind of this buckaroo, Texas puncher. You might be on a ranch and some dudes are just totally flat hatters, buckaroo style, 60-foot riatas in Wyoming. And then the same guy that works on the same ranch is like tight on, fast and hard. He's like a Texas type of guy, Each one of those styles has like a different, it's all based on the terrain really. But for me, being in Colorado, they kind of meet. So my style is kind of this like Texas, a little bit of buckaroo, like all kind of mixed in. And I was really trying to find that. But go back to this knife. Everything's a little flashy. So I do have a little bit of flashy stuff, in that kind of buckaroo style. So that knife, it just like stands out. I'm actually having a sheath made for like a leather belt sheath made for it with some custom stuff. I have some custom spur straps. It's actually my wife topless riding my mustache on my spurs. And
your mustache is the straps?
No. Okay. So like my spur straps, but the artwork on it is a girl like like she's on a bucking horse, but it's just a big black mustache. So I'm getting the same style on on that knife sheath. So it's just little stuff like that. A lot of that's like just cool,
like
cowboy character history, of like everybody kind of having their own individuality, and style to what they're doing,
Yeah, and the native culture is kind of like that too, like just the way that they would bead their stuff and
everybody's
paint
like
their face.
Yeah, everybody's different. It's stuff. Like that's my biggest thing on like the native community, which I wish more people understood, but also I kind of think like sometimes the natives, like the loudest voices, were like our own worst enemy. We're all different, and like if you try to umbrella natives, I believe there's like 571 federally recognized tribes in the United States, and like no one's the same. There might be some tribes that are close, but like I'm Apache. I don't do what the Crow do.
Right.
Like in a way, yes, but in a, living off the land and those kind of aspects, but like I don't know their culture or what they do or what this feather means or these braids or, any of that kind of stuff. So I wish there was a little bit more of nuances of people kind of understanding, like.
Yeah, it's broken down into so many things. Unless you start reading some like history about it, it's really kind of hard to find out or like firsthand.
Yeah.
I have some firsthand accounts around here.
Yeah.
Because I come from a ranching family like 12 generations ago here.
Yeah.
And so I have like
a few stories. Homesteading at the time.
Homesteading.
Everybody's going to the rest. Yeah, and that's the other thing too is like a lot of people don't.
A lot of horrible stories, honestly.
Oh, for sure. But a lot of people don't know like most of the places where the reservations are. There might be a piece of the land that the natives like, would be their homeland, but it's usually like the shittiest piece that there is,
right.
That put them on, that's kind of what happened. Cause the settlers, the government wanted like the good areas,
Arrowhead Golf Course, dude.
Yeah. So it's like they want all the good stuff. So it's like, put the Indians out in the plains, take away the buffalo.
Yeah. It's cool. Mankind is one cruel motherfucker, man. That's all. Just in general, just the cruelty and greed. We just ruin a lot, man. And you can ruin yourself, like doing the same sort of shit. It's like just kind of,
I think
being greedy. Like anytime I get a little bit greedy, it never turns out good for me.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I think like we as society in the West, I'm not going to just say America, because you see all this bleed over in, in in Europe and whatnot. I think we just look at history in a completely like off way, and it seems like lately we've been looking at history of like who did what to who versus how are we more closely alike and where was the mistakes that we made, so we make sure that that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's like everybody knows that slavery is wrong. Every race, color, creed, religion have been enslaved at some point around the world. It continues to go on now. It's like it's bigger than it's ever been in the world right now, which is nuts. And
just at a corporate level, man.
Well, no, I like in like legit like slaves, buying, selling slaves. Africa is a crazy place that no one ever talks about. Doesn't have the media light shined on it. The millions and millions of people that like are killed in the Congo, and everyone talks about the Ukraine or whatever. And not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but just like showcasing how, we can all agree on something that's wrong, right? So when we teach that and we educate that, it should be about how we're more closely alike than it's like white versus black. Like in our country, it was like white versus black in a way, but then it's also like Indians had slaves.
For a very small period of time too. I don't think that's what people realize.
Right.
Like 100 years is
and
dropping a bucket.
And I also think it's like people just don't understand all of it. It's like, natives have slaves, the Mexicans had slaves, this group. It's like it's never the Chinese ran their own slaves, their own their own people. Immigrant workers basically was going, just running them to here to do the railroad. And we allow them to force us that it was just white versus black, that like no one helped each other, that it was like, some of the best, like, civil rights movement people of, especially the mid 1800s were white people that really like went out on a limb to like, show how wrong this was. But we just want to make it where it's like, no, we have to stay against each other like nonstop in society.
We put guardrails on everything.
Oh, yeah.
And like kind of box it in and like package it up and then sell it, right?
Yeah.
Like
history's nuance, and we don't allow nuance for conversations in past and what's happened, all those kind of things. I think
I've never really thought about it from that perspective, man. That's a great perspective because I think you could just get caught up in it. And I think especially in America, we're so ignorant to actual history.
Yeah.
Until you've gone to like Europe or some of these places like Africa or something like that, and you start seeing some of the history that's there and how long it's been around and like it's crazy.
And like we're that way in the United States. It's just not
Very
many
young.
people know where to go see those things, or the appropriate way to like, well, how would I check out or know like this buffalo jump is 10,000 years old, or the natives, the Indians that were there doing that or whatever. Something that came to mind when you're saying that was I don't know if you've seen that. It's like a newer documentary on Netflix about Somalia, and they interview dude. It's so good because they get at the same time they're telling the story. You have the Americans, the Rangers, and the Delta Force guys telling their story, and then you have the Somalians telling their story.
Really?
And this guy who is like a media like cameraman has all this footage from the Somali side, and he interviews like guys that were on the objective that were like shot multiple times and what happened. And it really kind of goes through of like, why did they have animosity towards the Americans? Like just seeing something from a different perspective. And I'm not saying that like those are good guys by any means. I'm not saying that, but it does allow you into the mind of, one, the enemy at that time, and the enemy, to the current time, those guys are definitely bad people, but it does allow you to see what, like through their eyes, like what they understand, how they felt about it, what they think, so it is pretty cool to see that,
That is very cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I've been, the rabbit hole I've been down lately is I'm not a very religious person. Like nature is my religion. I believe there's a creator.
Yeah.
But I'm not one to go sit in a church, and especially a Catholic church. Like that to me is just very foreign. Like I just don't.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm Indian, so I'm like anti-Catholic.
Yeah. But I went down this rabbit hole reading about the Knights of the Templar, and they were like the first like organized military for the Catholic Church and kind of what they
became
stood
the pirates
for.
in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of
dude,
craziness.
it's insane.
Yeah.
Like it's an incredible story.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the same premise and war, not so much, I guess, but that we were fighting just, 20 years ago or whatever in Afghanistan and stuff. It's just religious war.
Yeah.
Kind of in a sense,
Yeah, for sure. I think
So
religion's been a crazy experience for the world, Look at it, most of it's either, land and resources or some kind of religious push. When you look at a lot of all the conflicts around, the globe from the time history began, right? It's like conquer more either to make them us or conquer more to get resources, or, hey, we want this land for our religious, reasons.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because they were originally formed to like, for people seeking pilgrimage, right? To Jerusalem.
Right.
So they were protectors,
Right.
basically. And then they became protectors and providers
Yeah.
after that. And then basically as the popes started getting into it and greed started getting into the Catholic Church, like greed, they talked about the level of greed, like stealing all the Van Gogh paintings that they have, like that are at the Vatican right now. Like it's crazy. Like,
dude, the Catholic Church rabbit hole is pretty insane. And for me, I just grew up where like my mother and my grandmother like hated Catholics. Like, they went to boarding schools. You know, my grandparents went to Native American residential boarding schools ran by the Catholics. So like, of course they hated them.
So was the Catholic religion what was mostly force-fed to natives in?
Yeah, so you got to look at the Catholic religion. So the Catholic religion, you know, when they landed in the late 1500s, that's what they brought to, you know, Central America and, you know, Mexico. Mm-hmm. And then that's where everything California related, old Mexico, all of old California, all those, not mosques, what are those things called that they have? All the Pablos, the Pedros, whatever, the fathers, what do they call them damn things? No, they're churches. What are they? Oh. Not temples.
I don't know. You might have to look this up.
They're the old like Spanish, most of the missions. So all the missions, you know, starting from
places though.
Yeah,
like
from you know, up from San Francisco all the way down through the Baja. Yeah. So all of these missions that, you know, happen all over the place. A lot of them were like forts, but that was the religion that was pushed in North America. Mm-hmm. So then you had like the Protestant, you know, the Pilgrims and the Protestants, that's a little bit different. But the Catholic Church from the Spanish was what had that heavy influence, you know, when it originally started. But for us, it was just more of a like, you know, this is what in full criticism on Catholic Church. You know, the Native American boarding schools, you know, you go back through history. I've been down those rabbit holes where like the Pope has like the little fish, like all the like evil demonic stuff, how like the Vatican is like its own country. And then basically they say collapse of Rome. And then they just like became like, oh, we're Catholic, we're the Vatican. And then there's like all this like celestial stuff that lines up like all the Catholic churches all the way up through England that line up like it's nuts, dude. If you start going down some
and
of that
then what's happening today?
Oh no, straight up. The pedophilia, like
crazy.
That's my thing with the Catholics in Catholic churches. And I have friends that are Catholics, but like if all this stuff is going on in your church and you're okay with it. And then also we just moved timelines. Like remember when abortion wasn't okay in the Catholic Church and now it is, or divorce wasn't okay and now it is. So like they just move to just stay relevant. They're just a political figure of power. That's all they are. That's all they are, is a political figure, power head, like, you know, it disguises the church.
And and that's what this, like going down the rabbit hole of the Knights of the Templar type thing. They basically just destroyed the most Christian, selfless people, even though that they were warriors.
Right. No, absolutely.
Like they just destroyed them just by culture and what they were doing and what they were trying to achieve.
And that's why I don't know how true it is, but I saw some stuff on YouTube rabbit hole where it's like those guys they fled because they had that big navy. So the guys who left became pirates and they took a bunch of the gold, and that's how they just kind of split up these warriors who went to sea and then ended up in the Caribbean. And there's some like Knights Templar stuff all over the Caribbean and but for me,
that cross is a huge insignia, like the red cross on the white, you know, cloak. Or
for me, it's more of just my grandparents went to Catholic boarding schools, and Americans don't know about it. You know, like it was really cool to see, you know, 1923 for them to put that in such a like brutal, like realistic portrayal of what happens at these residential boarding schools. You know, and
that's cool that you have that history, because I don't think many people do on their families. You know, like
no, natives do a lot. Yeah. So I think they were residential boarding schools are around until like the 70s, like 76 or something like that. And the whole thing was like educate the Indian out of educate the man out of the Indian or something like that. It's you know, and then Canada had it until like 1996. So like as woke as Canada is, like the crap that still goes on with First Nations.
Since 1996?
Yeah, they had it all the way up to 1996.
What the
Yeah, they literally just dug up like, there was like 200 kids that they had behind an old, like I literally just saw a meme and I know about it because it was like, this really wasn't a news story. It was only really covered in the native kind of news outlets. They found a couple hundred children in, you know, outside of an old residential boarding school, just buried, no graves, no nothing, just buried in the ground. Babies, kids, everything. And then the meme was like, you know, Canada has like a serial killer kills 10 people and it's all over the news. But like, what about these hundreds of kids that we found, you know, buried in all these residential schools? So every
horrible,
Native
man.
family has been affected in Canada and United States by residential boarding schools. Like I've never met a Native that wasn't. And it also has a lot to do with Natives that are a lot like myself that have like, they live in like urban populations that don't live on the res. I want to say that there's, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a way higher number of Natives that live off the reservation than that do on the reservations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wild.
So I'm going to shit all over the Catholic Church, but
yeah.
You know.
No,
for me, it's a little more personal.
No, I kind of am too. Like, I have a very bad taste of. I still believe that there's a creator. I have a bad taste in man. This bringing it back to man fucks up everything. Yeah. I think the message is good.
Yeah.
I think man having control of that message and using it for power is not good. Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Bible talks about how like the devil will come at you in the form of an angel, and like there's a lot.
The devil was an angel to start.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, not to be a religious podcast, but that's just interesting, dude. Like it's crazy how much we burn ourselves down, you know? Mm-hmm. And I guess that's a light that I've always tried to just be genuine and be myself. Yeah. And like, I'm not trying to be anybody else, not even in this, you know? And no matter what I do. And I think that that's what you were explaining between the buckaroo and the puncher.
Yeah. Like the Texas puncher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like I always try to be positive, even like with social media. And there's times, man, I want to like say some shit. I usually just try to keep things kind of funny. But there's times when like I want to
from your mom's single wide trailer.
Exactly. But no, there's times when it's like I do want to be negative and say things, but I also know I just don't want to have that like hung over me. I'm not a shit talker. To people's face, I am. Like, I totally am. I don't give a shit. Like, I'll say whatever. But I don't like, any of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I'm not about the gossip. I don't like the negativity. And I just think there's so much negativity, especially with social media and what's going on, and that it's like, man, there's too many badass people doing amazing things and companies.
That's all I follow, man.
And it's like, if your social media feed's negative, like if you're mad about social media, you're an idiot. Like, you're following the wrong people. Like, I don't care if it's your brother. Fucking unfollow him and like follow people who motivate you and do stuff, or just get off social media. But like, it's just
that's kind of my concept for having guests in here. It's always people that motivate me or better than I am or more savage or more of a warrior or whatever it is, right? Or have some crazy experience that I've never experienced. And it's me learning. It's like a selfish learning lesson. Hopefully the audience is learning too at the same time. But
I feel like that's all my friends. Like, if I think about like every person that I consider my friend and like I hang out with and I'm around, it's all people that are like better than me at everything, like so many things, and I think that like it's important to stay humble and like to be the new guy, to learn, to never be the expert. And, it's like, if there's 10 of us and all of us have 10 different skill sets we bring to the table, like, you're going to have your time to shine and teach and be the subject matter expert for that one thing you're good at. But the other 9 things that someone else is an expert in, like, why would you not want to surround yourself with those kind of people?
Yeah.
And friends?
And that's kind of like the team mentality, right? Like, there's different assets that certain people are better at or more trained in or whatever. And it's kind of what makes a fucking good team. I mean, it does for me, especially in the industry that I'm still dibble dabbling in, like just coming back from Vegas for fucking 3 weeks on a nightmare of a job. But it's like, if I was only as strong as the guys holding me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got to hire my own people. So it's all my homies, like 50 deep that have so much experience in just what they do.
I mean, I look at it, it's like that, regardless of the analogy, you look at when, occupations or sports, it's like, there's guys who are just standouts and elite and really good at things. But at the same time, it's like everyone has their specialty and things they bring to the table, even in individual sports, like if you're an MMA fighter or you run track, it's like you have a team behind you of experts that are like guiding you and coaching you and mentoring you to bring out the best of your abilities in this individual sport.
1,000%.
Or like you play football, it's like, well, there's 11 positions. They're all built different. They all look different, like, because they're an expert in one thing, and I think that's kind of how I look at, like, people I surround myself with. Like I said, I can't name one person I know that I hang out with all the time that's not, like, when I say better than me, like black belt level, I'm a white belt. compared to like what they know, what they're expert in, you know?
Yeah.
And it might be something I'm interested in trying to learn or whatever. And I'm sure there's things that they would say the same thing about me, you know, but at the same time, I think like it's just super important to like, if you're like the most badass dude in the room, or you're the coolest guy all the time, or you have to like be noticed and you're that like, no one wants to be around you, dude. Like,
no,
people
hell
suck. People fucking suck.
Yeah. They do. And they tend to be the people that don't help people. Like they're the gatekeepers, right?
Yeah.
Like always. That's what I found anyways.
Yeah.
It's like those sort of people that they're too good to hang out with somebody that's less than, you know, they let certain people in their tribe, but then they also are the king shit of their tribe. You know? It's like,
For sure.
What are we doing here, bro?
I look at it like one of my things, you know, just the veteran stuff. I always say like, and I'm not calling any specific company or anybody out, but if you own a company, nonprofit, whatever, and you're a special operations guy, you're a SEAL, you're a Green Beret, Ranger, whatever, and you don't have a bunch of those guys that work with you and support you, like it tells me everything I need to know about you and your company, about
right.
You know what I mean? Like because it's like if team guys don't want to support you, there's a reason there. They're not going to put it on the internet. Everyone's not going to talk about it. It's not going to be this. But like if you can't get like
if the community gets behind
your
you.
community of guys aren't instructors, aren't, you know, fully involved in what you're doing, your company, and supporting you and that, like to me, that's a big sign of what kind of team guy you probably were, as well as, you know, if I just see if you own a shooting company or something and you've been around for 5 or 6 years and it's just nonstop, like different instructor, and then the rumor mill is like, oh, that guy's a fucking turd, and it's like, yeah, of course you could see it. Like,
well, honestly, that's why I vet guys through you and
I'm not I'm not like I'm sure.
No, but it's weird how
that.
that community works, and I'm no part of it by any means. I just have a lot of friends that are in it, and even when I'm hanging out in those groups, I'm always the guy on the side. You know, like I don't have the same camaraderie that, you know, it's fun to hang out with, but it's just a different type of brotherhood, and there's a different level of expectation there too, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think the guys that, regardless of how much time you spent in the military, the team guy stuff, if you're still able to have those team guy type conversations, what I mean by that is like, if I suck at something or I fuck something up, like you've got to tell me, and it can be abrasive, it can be whatever, right? And that still has to happen. Like you have to have people that are able to check you, to be like, hey, dude, like what the hell is this? Or give you a call like, hey, is this true? Like I heard so-and-so or whatever. And it's like that, to me, the guys that keep that mentality around are able to be checked by their friends, you know, keep that. And
that's exactly why I vet people, dude, because I'm like, I've had some people reach out that are those bad eggs in the community and they want to come on, you know, it's like, well, I don't really know you, so I'm going to make a few phone calls. And then,
and that's good. That's good. I think that's really good to have. And the more that you can build, I think like any industries like that, you know, if you started having a bunch of firefighters in here and started getting no more firefighters, I'm sure you look back and be like, I had that fucking turd on here, you know, or whatever.
Right. If you never know what people do behind closed doors too, man.
Not
like at all.
No. Yeah. But I mean, I dude, your guests like always like super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, some of them are like, you know, like really good friends, so it's like really cool to and some of them are, you know, like even stories that I haven't like I've heard a little bit on, you know, or them open up a little bit about stuff but don't know as deep, you know, and like two examples of that is like, you know, it's like Kate and Cody, you know, like to be like, dude, like so cool, you know.
What an amazing human, dude.
Oh, dude,
I love that guy.
Dude,
do anything for him, you know.
He's my wrestling coach, so like I'm a little like I'm biased because he's like, you know, like yes,
but he's just a good dude.
Oh,
like,
dude,
and if this goes back to the old cliche saying, never judge a book by his cover. Like if you just saw that guy on the street, you'd kind of be like,
he's like a douche.
Yeah,
his hair, his tattoos, and he's all like where he dresses a little bit.
Yeah,
what means I feel like I don't know how old he is. I think he's early 30s.
Yeah, he's
so I mean he just that's what normal 30.
But all hard, man.
Like. Oh man. The really cool thing for me about training there at Factory X MMA is, yes, you know, Mark Montoya, he's like, that's coach, right? Like, dude. But Cody's my coach, right? Like, and I'm fucking big loser at the bottom of the food chain, right? But my favorite
humbling thing.
Yeah, dude. My favorite thing about wrestling at Factory X is there, and Cody does an amazing job at them. You're there for an hour or an hour and a half of like real, legit, old school wrestling practice. It is tailored a little bit towards MMA, like, hey, if you put your head to the side, you'll get guillotined, like showing you different things. So it's not just like the point high school wrestling, even though we have kids from high school and college guys that come all the time.
You going in a singlet, dude?
No, I'm old school, bro. I'm like full sweats.
Yeah.
Sweats tucked into my socks, dude. No, wrestling shoes, like, full on sweats, dude.
Hell yeah.
And no, I just love it, man. And
that's good for the ringworm, actually.
Oh yeah. And it's also so fucking hard. And what I do like about being around all those fighters and learning and one, Factor X has given me like a team room feeling again. Mm-hmm. Like I get that when I'm around a lot of cowboys, and don't get me wrong, like that's amazing, and it's another layer of like my own mental health. But like being able to, get punched in the face and wrestle and do these things, and it's like these guys, you see them on TV, these badass UFC fighters who just have like the biggest smile on their face, and they're just like, hey, how you doing, man? Like there's no ego. It just reminds me of being in the team room, like the banter, the ego. It's like no one really has the ego because like I'll slap the shit out of you. Like everyone has that. Like what'd you say? Like if they wanted to,
Yeah.
So it's super cool because you never know. You're like, I don't know if I could do.
Well,
this.
that's honestly why I have so many guys from the special operations community and then also fighters, dude. Like that's probably over half of our guest list. Over 200 episodes.
And I think the attitude is just so similar.
There's nothing to prove.
No, the attitude's so similar. I think in both are warriors. Mm-hmm. The attitude's very similar. Those guys, and this is my experience of fighting. Whether it's boxing or kickboxing or something, it's like once you go in there with another man and you're standing in front of another, like it doesn't matter what level it is, whether you're just at a local jiu-jitsu tournament or it's like under the lights on TV, or for me, like in Iraq, at these we're talking like the Friday night fights we'd have a couple thousand, everybody on the base is there to watch them,
But like, just got team guys going at it or something?
No, when I was doing Friday night fights in the Army, I was actually in the regular. I was still an MP then.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was in Iraq for a year from 05 to 06, November 05, November 06. I was a squad leader at the time, and they had Friday night fights. And every time it wouldn't, like, I could get in, it didn't miss with my patrol schedule, because most of the time we were just out doing area security and route security and stuff. We worked the midnight shift or the night shift. So from midnight to noon is when my guys we'd be out on patrol in our area that we're responsible for. So if it lined up and we either had a day off or like Friday night, I try to give the guys like more time to, didn't have to be we try to get everything done early so we'd have more time Friday night. But I would box all the time in the Friday night fights. And, it's a lot to like, I just give those guys so much credit, because to get in front of another person that's like trying to beat the shit out of you, try not to embarrass themselves. You're not trying to get, there's people watch, like there's just so much going on. It's so hard to like push those things out, not be in your own head. And the reason it's like your body can't handle it. Like your legs get so like they feel heavy. Like if you can't push all that out, you're just like, dude, I can barely like my legs.
Meanwhile, they got fucking move. 3 announcers that with pedigrees that are talking shit on him the whole time. Like he needs to pick up his leg, or he's fucking like. And then like some of those guys like Dustin Jacoby on that last fight ripped his fucking toe off 3 weeks before he fought. Like a lot of people don't know that, man. They're all heart, dude. They are all heart.
All heart, man. All heart. And I think that mentality is what you see a lot with a lot of the team guys. And not that I wouldn't say, all team guys have it, but it's almost kind of like peer pressured into you. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to be here, you're going to have it. Right. And if you don't have it, like you're not going to be here. So I think that whether it's, false motivation or real motivation or whatever, I think that those two things align very well. And then with the fighters and the team guys. And then the other thing I've seen is brain injuries. You know, all these fighters have, they had Doc Pate on. And
Thank you, by the way, man. What an amazing fucking episode, dude. We've had so many people listen to that.
Yeah.
And write in. Yeah. I can't wait to have her back. She was kind of on short time, obviously, because she's a neurophysiologist talking to a dumbass. You know what I mean?
Dude, that lady changed my life, man. Like I would not be the way I am in retirement mentally and physically if it wasn't for Kate
So
Payton.
cool. That was such a great episode too, man. So, I learned so much in that hour and a half that we had her on. Like I was like, this makes sense.
So like looking at what I know about operator syndrome through Doc Pate and like brain injuries and all these other things, along with just your body, like I was so durable for 22 years. And now that I retired, it's like little injuries and little tweaks and this, and it's hard to be durable. And the same with like these fighters or just, all contact sport pro athletes. Like I was just this morning, I did a ruck with my buddy Ryan Miller. He used to play for the Broncos and like, talk about like same brain, mush mayonnaise head, like it just compares so much to each other, those pro athletes, because, 1 minute you're like at this high level, you're operating, you have all the team guys around you, all the locker room stuff, all those things. And then the next day you retire and it's like, what are you now? Right. You're not a fighter anymore. You're not a football player. You're not a team guy. Like you're just a regular dude at King Super, just like everybody else.
You're just looking at it from the outside at that point, right?
Yeah. So like,
and the community kind of drops you too, is what I found. Like it's after talking to Wolf or like, some of the guys or Scott Parker, like he actually started a veteran nonprofit just because of that. Like he just wanted that team kind of aspect.
No, I totally get that. And so Factory X for me has been an amazing place to get that like team feeling again, as well as like train for something that like I want to be proficient in, or I don't want to be some schmo who can't fight. I think it's very important as men that we train, that we stay active, sharp. All that. And even if it's just for mental, you may never need to put your hands on somebody or defend your family or do any of that. But having the like that courage or like whatever I'm looking for the word,
being humbled
all the time, but also like that confidence, like when you're in public to be like, I'm not trying to walk around all cocky, but I'm also just like, it just changes how you feel about conflict.
I think that there's something too. I mean, I know that there's something there neurologically, and Doc Kate would have to explain it. Like going to jiu-jitsu and rolling hard, like a hard session in the gi.
I'm a jiu-jitsu hater.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I wrestle. So
those are the best guys at jiu-jitsu though, most of the time. Like,
I'm not officially a jiu-jitsu hater. I think my problem with, and this is kind of funny, with jiu-jitsu is I really wanted to wrestle and do wrestling base. And I was like, because I've done jiu-jitsu. I did, the whole army. Like I've gone through, all the combative certification stuff, and, fought in combative tournaments and all those things. And I think it's great. Like jiu-jitsu is great. But what I was seeing when not training anymore is, or let me back up a little bit. When I was in the army, we do these tournaments and stuff, and I started this before I was in Special Forces, and then become Special Forces, and we're still doing the same type of training. They did have like a Lions program that they did, and I forget exactly what that was, but it was all basically kind of like MMA, but like rooted in BJJ. And then I was like, this makes no sense we're training on the ground, we're learning all this stuff, but we're not doing anything starting from our feet. I was like, we need to be training from the clinch and learn how to like Greco wrestle and move around. Like I'm like, when I was a team guy, I was like 230, like 225 to 230, depending on how much fucking Mexican supplements I was taking. And so I'm like 225 pounds and I'm wearing 100 pounds of shit. The last thing I want to do is like tie up with the dude and fall down on the ground.
Yeah, it's the worst place to be.
Correct. So what we did was we brought in the Olympic Greco team to show it to, and I was like big on this. I was like, dude, like we need to learn how to fight from the clinch and like not go to the ground. So this is why really think the combative stuff needs to change. And like, everyone's like, all cops need to know jiu-jitsu. I'm like, jiu-jitsu?
No, they don't, dude.
I'm like, you want them on the fucking ground with all that
It's the
kit
worst fucking
on?
thing for a street fight. I mean, there are some good lessons learned in there, like the collar choke.
And I'm sure there's some jiu-jitsu guy who could eat me to death in this conversation. My problem with what I've seen in jiu-jitsu is you can have a base in it and start, but like the last place I want to be when I have a gun on my gun kit, whether you're a cop, you're a soldier, whatever, like I have too much shit on that now I have to fight in weapons retention and all this other stuff. My other thing with being at Factory X is like what I've always said when I did jiu-jitsu. It's like, yeah, you got me. But you're on your back, I'm laying on top of you, and if this was real life, I would bite your nose off and have my thumb in your eyeball, and you're not going to do anything about it.
No,
like,
it's so not true.
So I really like that MMA style of all the training aspects, whether it's focusing on boxing or Muay Thai or wrestling or jiu-jitsu, because it's looking at it, putting it together to make you a well-rounded MMA fighter, which this is the only training that most realistically mimics what could happen to you, in a real altercation. Closing the distance, defending a takedown or taking someone down, or whatever. Like all those different layers to your game. And then at the same time, the real reason why I'm a jiu-jitsu hater is because on social media, all I do is see dudes just laying on their back, and like I see all the tournament stuff where like
rubber
you can pull guard.
Well,
you pull guard and you don't lose points for it and stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what is going on? Like,
right.
So, and then the other thing I've seen since training at Factory X, no one likes to wrestle. It's hard as fuck.
Oh yeah.
So like, and Cody talks shit to all the guys. He'll literally be like, we'll have guys that'll like.
I think it depends on the jiu-jitsu gym too, because I guess the places where I've trained, there's a heavy wrestling influence.
Yeah, they start
with
from
like D1s, and like we're doing takedowns.
It is a completely different dynamic too.
Right.
And a lot of the gyms that
to the point where you get injured.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Same. I'm always like, oh god, I'm so fucked up. So that was just for me looking at like why I'm a little bit of a jiu-jitsu hater. Like
I'm with you on that.
I like the wrestling aspect of it, and I love how jiu-jitsu, like wrestling, has changed my whole approach to fighting, because when I could just box, like I had zero like if you took me to like I wouldn't know what to do other than trying to like frame and like football shit or something, you know? Like but now I have confidence of like this dude, like like okay, I have a little
that's what it's about. I mean,
it.
it's that motor skill too. I think it's definitely a motor skill. I've been recently wanting to, just because I've always owned firearms. I'm kind of proficient with them, but I'm more proficient with my bow because I spend that much time with it.
Reps, yeah.
I would love to go take a like close quarters combatives class that was like wrestling, jiu-jitsu with some like trainers, right? Like a trainer pistol or a trainer knife or something like that. To me, that seems more
Remind me to
real
circle
world.
back on this.
Okay.
Because I got something for you.
Okay. Badass. But that's kind of what you're doing at War Party.
Yeah.
Or, War Party Ranch.
Yeah.
With these women and stuff, is like teaching them how to draw and shoot, and then also a little bit of combatives, right?
Yeah. So the one thing I'll close out about my favorite thing about wrestling is just meaner. It's just fucking harder. It's just meaner.
You got to be a dog.
I
man.
can roll jiu-jitsu 7 days a week. Yeah. I cannot wrestle more than like 2 days a week. Like I physically
No, jiu-jitsu is an old man sport, I think. It's kind of like one of those.
Yeah.
Like if a 70-year-old dude can do it, a 70-year-old dude can't go to wrestling fucking 3 times a week, dude.
I mean, like I said, I just
some 70-year-olds.
That's what I just love. I'm able to use my like, and I'm losing a step. I'm not as fast and stuff, but I'm able to use like speed and strength and like a lot of athletic explosiveness and do that. But I can also kind of tone it down, and then learning jiu-jitsu along with it, or stuff I've already known in jiu-jitsu. It allows me to like really give me a little bit more layers to.
Well, you feel so good after it too, man.
Oh,
it's
dude.
like I was leaving jiu-jitsu, and it was a wrestle heavy class, got my ass kicked by like this fucking former Oregon Duck,
dude. We have
350. Because I'm a big guy, I always get the.
I'm a factory expert. Everyone has fucking ears look like a dog chewed on them. They're all. I was like,
it's a bunch of pit bulls in that motherfucker, dude. But yeah, and then I had like 4 or 5 high school kids pull up next to me, and they were just being fucking dumb idiots, you know, and they're just fucking yelling at me and flipping me off and shit. And I was just like,
you're just like, whatever, they're laughing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just,
but it was probably because I just left class, dude.
No,
I was literally like going to take a shower.
I was going to say that. That is every time I leave rest. I almost wish wrestling practice was a little earlier in the day. Like I get it. Like it's perfect time for like after work and stuff, but I'm on a high. Like I can stay up to like 2 a.m. and not be tired. Yeah. No caffeine, no nothing. Like I don't cuss anybody out when I'm driving. A lot of times when I'm driving, bro, like I want to fucking just, I hate people, you know? The freeway's like the internet, you know? It's like people just, there's no consequences. They're like, no, cutting you off, do whatever. You're like, bro, what?
Well, there are sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Like,
No, for sure.
Shoot your ass, you know?
So I just drive home and I'm just like that. I'm just like, smile at it. Just like, I
road rage is not even a thing. That's what I was getting at.
I love that. And it does help, I think, feed like that warrior spirit of like, I do need violence. I do need to be around other men training that way. And it's something that I've never gone away from. It's been my entire life from a kid to now of like, I need that. And I think that, when you just look at the history of men and men in general, it's like we went from like sitting around a fire pulling security for saber-tooth tigers to like this pussified thing. And it's like, no, dude, men need men, and men need men's men. Like we don't need to talk about our feelings. We need to go out and hunt shit or wrestle around and throw each other around. And,
I never feel better than that after that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Like all those kind of adventures. So for me, Factory X is I get to do, you know, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, whatever, I'm there. I get to experience a little piece of like going out to the woods for a really
Those guys are so awesome, man. They're like a family to me, you know, like day one supporters, Mark.
Yeah.
I met Mark in an archery shop before I even started the podcast.
That's awesome.
And just a fucking great dude. Great the whole entire family.
The whole family is
But
amazing.
the gym is like a family. It's like 40 or 50 people, and it's a little bit of that gang mentality. They have a little bit of military mindset. Yeah. We have one of their challenge coins sitting here, and like the whole dog tag thing, and like it's fucking cool, man. He's
super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it because, you know, again, there's cops in there, and firefighters, and just regular kids and construction workers, and
you don't have to be a pro to go in there.
No, and the other thing I think for Factory X in particular, and I haven't, you know, been to a bunch of other gyms, it definitely gives me that like military vibe, because my favorite thing about the Army was like all walks of life, colors, creed, religions, whatever, just coming together to accomplish a common goal and just serving each other. And when you walk into that gym, it's like black, white, brown, yellow, male,
Muslim,
female, Muslim, Christian. Dude, it's everybody. And it's so cool.
Have you met Yusuf?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
It's so cool.
Yusuf's fucking crazy, man.
But, like, so, you know, not to stay on those guys, but Cody is an amazing human, man.
I love him.
I love being coached by him. I love watching, you know, I'm like a dirty uncle, you know, to most guys, like for my age, that's kind of how I feel. But looking at him, it does make me like smile. I'm proud of that dude, because, you know, how he is as a dad, he's like just setting an example for young men that I don't think that is the most oftentimes the wrong example is what we're showing versus the right example of this dude, like this family guy, like, you know, really doing everything for the right reason. And then behind the scenes, I get to see him coach. You know, we're talking about a guy who's in UFC, doesn't have to do what he does, but takes time with these like 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, you know, or younger fighters, and like mentors them and talks to them and you know, big brothers them a little bit, you know what I mean? Like pushes them around a little, talks a little shit, but also like, hey, you know, like, and super motivating. And I think like that is super special. And I not going to say, you know, that can't happen anywhere else, but I think like Coach Montoya has really like allowed people to shine like that. I can just feel it when I walk in the gym, you know. His daughter's like that with the little kids. You know?
Like Brooklyn's awesome. We've had her on the podcast too.
And my daughter absolutely loves her. She was like the first female Jiu-Jitsu girl she was around that wasn't like old and fat. There was like a couple other, you know, like at the gym she was at, like a black belt, and she was like, oh, it's like, I was like, when I first saw her, I was like, this lady. Right. And she's a black belt. She probably ripped my arm off, but like, whatever. I don't think so.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
There's levels to shit.
So,
you know, like,
so for my daughter, my youngest daughter, for Arizona to see this like young, pretty girl who's like a lot like her. She's like, she just feels more of like, oh wow, you can be like, because my daughter wears like a pink gi and like,
right.
She's badass, but she likes girly shit. So to see like this young lady, you know, teaching and doing that in the same way. And
those guys are my tribe, man. Like that's why I support them. Anytime that they have a fighter going, I don't care who it is. If I don't even know them personally, that's my team.
Absolutely.
So,
and I tell all veterans, you know, like just what you said, tribe, community, check out gyms, man. Check out boxing gyms, MMA gyms, you know, wrestling clubs, whatever you can get a hold of. And they all might not be a right fit. They all might be different. But if you can find the right place, you know, like they're definitely game changers in your just mental health and how you feel. And again, for me, it's giving me that like team room vibe.
Well, I think it's facing adversity with each other too. Because like you go into wrestling practice, the guys are working just as hard as you are. And if not, they're getting their ass kicked, right? So there's like a tempo that builds. Absolutely. And like there's all this different stuff that you go through together. And then like you build different bonds with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I met, you know, and the cool thing about like everybody at that gym, whether they're, you know, coaches or fighters or the other guys that I'm just training with, I mean, as soon as a lot of them like find out what I did or like see War Party stuff, they're all like, man, how can I, it's beyond cool to see like, to get that like genuine support, you know?
Yeah.
And then for me, and like I said, another mental health thing that's really cool is you get to feel your own progression, you know? So like I didn't wrestle before. So I'm there now. When I first walked in, it was like these like jack dudes are like cauliflower been wrestling forever, like just sling me around. And now it's like, nah, bitch, you're gonna have to earn this. You know what I mean? Like, and it is like, you know, and I love that feeling of like just getting better and
just
better,
sharpening your skills,
you know, and doing stuff. And
that's also one of my goals this year is to do it tactically with my son and like get him, you know, just it's something I want to teach him, that form of violence, and also how to manage it, because that's what I was taught from a young age. Even absolutely. In the hunting, like sometimes when you're hunting like predators and stuff like that, there's a level of violence to it, right? Absolutely. There's a level of aggression that you have to like kind of face to get on their level a little bit, right? Like I think that there's so many lessons in just doing something hard, and I think that violence is so like kept in a jar now and pushed down and just buried. Yeah. That I think
just doing anything hard's buried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we become very sedentary for sure.
Well, I can see it even at wrestling practice with some of the ages of the people and the kids. Yeah, like generationally it's harder to get guys and people to work a little harder. You know what I mean? And I love Cody for calling that out and talking shit about it. And he don't like the sandbagging and the guys who, you know, want to, I'll do some live rolling or whatever after we've already like got our asses smoked.
You really have to want to be in a wrestling room.
Oh yeah.
Dude, and most of the coaches that I know are not taking it easy, dude. Like I went into my son's wrestling practice 2 weeks ago. A former SF dude is his coach.
Nice. Hell yeah.
And I was like, I showed up like maybe 10 minutes late. They literally did seal walks for an hour, probably a little over an hour. I don't know if you've ever done those. It's like you just fucking, you know, like you have to use nothing but your arms. I was like, well, cool, dude. You got triceps now. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I think it's great for wrestling is probably, you know, and I haven't been around football or anything in a long time, but I think for adversity and just working hard, it just seems like the guys I know that wrestled in high school and college, especially, you know, like guys like Cody wrestle in college and like continue this a level, especially and collegiately, they're like a different human. Like their work ethic and like what is hard to them just seems different. It reminds me a lot of like
special operations guys.
Yeah, as I was saying, it reminds me a lot of team.
Everybody that I know from the special operations community, even the guys that have no legs.
Oh yeah, there's some
like Caleb Brewer.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I know who
Stick Sniper.
I know
he's down in Arizona. Like he's got this super successful business. He's a hell of a bowman.
Yeah,
like bow tech. Like that's an art in itself. Like setting up compounds and getting them all tweaked right and tuned right and all that sort of stuff. And then just the animals that he kills and like he's a fucking badass, dude. And he has no legs.
Yeah,
like jumping rope on one prosthetic, dude. Like to me that. that is just the epitome of myself. It's so humbling for me to see him do that and be like, fuck, I didn't get that done this year. I can't jump rope like that. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck is my excuse?
Yeah. I think it, like I said, back to the whole, like, everything positive, like looking at everything through a positive light, and like not being a victim, not woe is me and yourself, you know, not like, you know, just soaking in all the bad things that are around you, and like, and then even what he wants to portray, whether he's struggling, you know, mentally, whatever he's going through, it's like, no, I'm going to show that, like, I'm overcoming in being. I'm doing adventures. I'm doing this. And I think that part is what is key about, like, again, for me, with like social media and people and what they're doing. And like, you just got to be like positive, man. Like you motivate more people than you realize by just, you know, being who you are and overcoming those trials and tribulations, whether you want to show a ton or whatever it is. But there's so many stories of people just really battling through adversity. And then the other side of it, I think, which is really cool, what I don't think a lot of people quite understand about, like, the special operations community in particular, we're like autistic psychopaths, bro. So like when I say like
you guys are some of, like, I've worked with rock stars, right?
Yeah.
Like legitimate rock stars, like big fucking names. Think they're rock stars? They don't hold a candle. No, the special operations guys are fucking rock stars.
And what I mean by that is, like, the most badass dudes in the world, every one of them has like something. And it might be history. It could be the bow tech stuff. Mm-hmm. It could be shooting, whatever it is. They're like, these dudes are like savants when it comes to like the knowledge behind it, what they do, you know, and it doesn't come through like, oh, I'm just naturally good at it. Like, I'll give you an example for like roping for me. I'm not some badass cowboy, man. Like, but I know if there's things I can control. So we always talk about, like, if you can touch it, you can control it. If you can't touch it, like, you can't control that. Like, what are you doing? Why are you worried about that? So like, for me, I could complain and be like, man, I want another horse. I want a faster horse. I want this. I want that. Or, you know, I need to, you know, I want to work at this ranch or work at that ranch. But one of the biggest thing I can control on a daily basis is I can practice roping. Just like people who shoot their bow all the time. You know the difference between a guy who shoots 100 arrows a day or a guy who swings his rope 100 times a day versus the guy who picks it up the week before hunting season, right?
Oh, it's all the difference.
Or a week before a week before a little archery 3D shoot. They're like, man. Special operations guys are fucking psychopaths, bro. Like, these dudes, when you see a dude like putting like range videos together and like shooting and doing stuff, right? That dude is probably dry firing like 100 to 500 times a day. He's probably just not, he's probably got gun parts all over his kitchen. His wife's like, Jesus, bro. Like, it's what I mean by that is like that. I think that like that is also something to be kind of like. I like when guys try to show a little bit more of that, because people think like things come easy. So like even like this week, somebody hit me up and was sitting there motivated. I was like, dang, you know, okay. And I was just trying to show like my workouts of the week. Cause it's like, do you think like I'm 45 and fit and like do what I do because I just like whatever? Like, no, dude, I work my ass off to be right, to be able to do what I'm doing, to ride horses all day, to go on hunts, to cowboy, to do this. And so I think that like sometimes the behind the scenes kind of into the mind, the psyche of that repetition of like to be an expert, to be a savant, to be in, you know, or the journey of trying to be an expert, you know? And I think it's kind of like just that warrior through time, whether it's a samurai or natives or, you know, the Zulu or whatever it is. It's like you start this journey and it never ends, you know, like being a warrior is never going to end. And some people are like, well, I'm not, right? No, dude. Yeah, it's a journey. It doesn't mean you have to like be the warrior on the battlefield and doing that. It's more like the courage to do the right thing, you know, the courage to continue to like be able-bodied and to be able to do the right thing. You know, sometimes doing the right thing isn't just with your mouth. Sometimes it's actions and what you do. And if you're able-bodied and you train that way and you you know, look at, like I said, these guys through history.
It's longevity of life too.
Yeah.
The more shape that your back is in, the longer you're going to be able to walk, right? Same with your legs.
So I bet.
Sort of
so back to that guy, or the stick sniper. I bet that dude shoots.
Oh, he's awesome.
200 arrows a day.
I need to go to Arizona and record with him or fly his ass up here. Yeah. He's a good dude. Yeah, man. That warrior mindset has played such a huge part in my life, even though I've never been in the military or never had to go into combat but like just doing it from a sports level. And I encourage anybody, let your kid, if he wants to play fucking football, let him go smash some people.
Yeah.
Because you got to learn how to be violent. And at some
I also
point,
think you got to learn how to get your ass whooped.
Yes.
And if you ain't got your ass whooped before, like, you end up stabbing somebody at a track meet because he's talk shit to you or whatever. All the crazy stuff you see on the news and what's going on. It's like, there's no repercussions for your actions anymore. And when we were kids, it was like, you got slapped around.
Yeah.
Like you just did.
If you're not checking out the Mountainside podcast on YouTube, you absolutely should be. If you like the content that we create here and you want to help support the podcast, please take a moment, subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. Well, I mean, you look at states like Texas and stuff, people drive like assholes.
Oh, yeah.
They'll turn around and hold the door open for you at the gas station.
Yeah.
And yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
But they might drive like an asshole, but you don't see road rage afterwards, typically.
I hate
like
Texas drivers.
I do too, man.
God, when I see Texas plates, I'm like, out of the way, Tex. And they're usually in the fast lane doing like 60 because it's snowing. And you're like, get the fuck out of the road.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And the absolute worst is when you see California plates. Because I don't know what it is about people from California, or if you get a rental car that just has California plates, I don't think the car is allowed to go at a constant speed. It either goes between 45 and 140, and it's just nonstop. Have you ever been like on the freeway and some dude's like, wow. Yeah. And then it's like playing on their phone going 55 and at 80 in the middle of Wyoming. You're like, yeah.
It's honestly why I don't ride motorcycles anymore. As much as I love to, there's too many fucking people on their phones. Like, it's just fucking insane, man.
Yeah, I had a period in my life from like 2000 to like, when did I buy a car? I don't think I had a car until this whole time as an Army, until like, and I did have a little truck till like 05. I mean,
really?
But yeah, I had like a 5-year period where I just owned motorcycles, and then I rode motorcycles and did heavy until probably about the time. No, even when I was a Green Beret for a little while, I did. But then I just got like caught up in deployment cycle, and I don't know what year it was. It might have been 14 or 15 or something. And it just was like I hadn't rode in deploying all the time and training. I'd ride every now and then. It just got worse and worse. Like you said, it is a point.
It's
when I was
another
like,
skill you have to sharpen, man.
Yeah, and everyone's on their phone. Everyone's on their
phone.
phone. It's like, dude, I'm out here riding, and like it's just dangerous. No one sees you. No one gives a shit. Like,
yeah.
And like
nobody's paying attention anymore.
It's my like pet peeve driving is like you're behind someone and you just see them. They're all over the road. Their speeds up and down, and it's like, man, And for me, it's like I'm a dad. I got kids, and it's like
we're slowly going
kid
to the autonomous cars, man.
Dude, I saw those when I was in Scottsdale.
Like the cabs.
They're all like. They're Jaguars, and they have like this sensors on the top, and like you just get
Wait a minute, they're all over San Francisco.
I'm like, there's no way, bro, I get that thing.
So some of my guys got in one the other night.
They're not letting
because we were in the bay. That's the scary part, right? Because if you walk in front of it, guess what? You want to get robbed? That's the best fucking place to do it because all the car sensors will shut down. So what was happening right there in the city of San Francisco is thugs were just walking in front of the car, stopping it, and then jacking whoever's in the car. They're not jacking the car, but they're robbing the people that are in it.
Right.
And there's no control over it.
No.
My guys got in it the other night, and they said that it got into oncoming traffic for a minute.
Yeah, dude. I was like, there's no way I'm getting in.
And they like auto corrected or something. I was like, I'm not getting in that fucking thing. No. I'll take the Uber. At least I can. If the Uber driver dies of a heart attack, while he's driving, I might have a chance to get up there and fucking put my foot on the brake and hold the steering wheel or something, right?
Yeah.
Bro, have you ever seen that school bus incident that happened maybe 2 years ago? There's a school bus driver, heavy set.
Oh, is he like has a heart attack or something? The kid
has a heart attack while he's
driving.
And one kid got up and stopped it, started steering the bus and stopped it, and he's yelling like dial 911. None of the other kids are like knew what to do. Like that's what I want my son to be. That's why I want him to know how to tactically shoot and do that sort of stuff. And I feel like if you're around that stuff, at some point, if you experience that later in life, just knowing how to disarm a gun.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's what
I think that's huge.
Well, just going back to why I think like fighting in that one-on-one space gives you so much confidence is because like there's nothing else. Even when you play football or basketball, like you have a team, you have people around you.
Yeah.
And being able to like isolate that, and you're like even if it's just sparring or live rolling or whatever, like it's you and that person.
You can't blame it on Tom Brady.
No, you
right?
can't blame it on nobody. No one's coming to help you. No one's coming to save you. Like it gives you these like real moments in life that you are like, you feel alone because you are, in a way, in doing what you're doing, right? It's all on you and your ability and what you practice and train, but just it's all on you. And a lot of that's where like that heart comes. Like speaking of Cody, like his last fight, like, are you kidding me?
Oh my
like,
God,
heart,
dude, that was insane.
Like, Jesus, my wife was like, I was like just standing in the living room the whole time, like not saying anything. Like I
was
think
in
I took
the
a
Bay
breath
Area
for like 2 minutes.
on this like corporate show floor, and I got it playing on like the iPad, right? Yeah. And I was just yelled like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" I was that excited, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" I didn't give a fuck.
So, but I think that gives like a kid like that the confidence to like see something going on, because he's felt that like pressure of just like, and that like, you ever see and we do this with our kids, because my son, my 13-year-old son's like high function autism. But we like make them do everything on their own. Like go order food, go do this. Like,
I do.
Here's money. Kids. Go to 7-Eleven, go do your thing. Like go ride your bike. Like make them do stuff where they have to like, oh shit, can I
give them some responsibility? Yeah.
And I think that like that kind of fighting stuff, the reason why I like the jiu-jitsu and stuff for my kids and wrestling is like it gives them those opportunities to build those confidence. And I'm not saying that kid who stopped the bus had that, but he also obviously exuberated confidence in being like, no one else is doing something, like I have to do something. And I think that is a very warrior mindset. That is, you don't have to carry a weapon in the battlefield and do all these things to have that warrior mindset and the protector mindset of the people that are around you. Whether you're 12 years old and you're just protecting all the other 12-year-olds around you, or you're 72 and you're protecting your grandkids or whatever. Like that mindset is key for men to have, like, period. You have to have it. And the farther we've gone away from this like warrior mindset, the farther we have just like, everyone now, all the kids wear pajamas and fucking have the same haircut and listen to the same
Jenko jeans are back,
dude. I'm like, where did men go? Like, why are you guys pussies? Like, what is going on?
No, 100%. I think that it all starts with being around like who you surround yourself with and having those good role models. So like, I think that's why like football coaches and wrestling coaches and, all that sort of stuff is good for your kids. Violence is good for your kids. Like them experiencing some sort of violence and in the safest environment that you can. I'm not saying
controlled. Controlled. Yeah.
Go, have them have a sleepover at somebody's house
but also learning those, but also learning those lessons of like, if you go too far, you know what I mean? Like, it gets controlled. It's stopped. It's what are you mad about? You're mad he punched, you're mad you can't take him down.
Right.
Like, are you, like you got to work, you got to train or this or that. And I think like those controlled environments, especially for youth and those coaches are really key. And I've always said this one, and I don't just use it for kids, but it's like, they say like it takes a village to raise a child. And it's like, no, we all need a village. We all need to fit into that village. And just we were talking about like teammates being experts in different things, and everybody can't be a blacksmith. You know what I mean? Like you need someone to be able to train horses and be a farmer or whatever in this village. But it's really key for kids because my dad was amazing. Like my dad, my grandparents, my grandfathers, my uncles. I was around just like some amazing examples of men, and I still needed coaches. I still needed somebody other than my dad to tell me things. Because as you go through this phase, especially when you're a teenager, where you start to butt heads, it's alpha thing. It's two fucking wolves. One's becoming a bigger wolf, and and like the other one's getting older. And it is this like weird dynamic with fathers and sons. And you need to hear it from somebody else. And I think that's key. So no matter if you have a great dad in your life or you don't. You know, for me, I was probably, you know, in my 20s, you know, and went older when I'm like, damn, my dad's cool as shit. You know, and there was probably I
have firsthand experience at
like,
this. You know, like 2 years ago, I coached my son's football team. I was the defensive coach because nobody stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
Kind of got suckered into it. I was like, well, fuck it, I'll coach it.
Yeah.
You know, I know enough to be dangerous. Next thing you know, we only had like 2 conversions all year because I just had these kids like thirsty for destruction, which was awesome. But even my son played DN, and because I played DN, I was the defenses that I built were heavily reliant on DNs containing the run, that whole thing, and being relentless, right? But there were times where I would have to go over and nudge the head coach, like, you need to yell at my son because it's not going to come off the same.
It's not going to come off the same. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's super important. You know, the coaches and the mentorship, and for me, that's like something I like. I try to talk about, or when I started Work Party Movement, what I wanted to highlight was like, man, the reason why I say like you are the movement. It's like you have the ability to affect your community, whether that's as a football coach, whether that's as, you know, just your job, you're a firefighter or you're a police officer, and like the only thing you can do really in your community is like go to work and try to be the best you can at that job. And when you're not at work, it's like, I have to decompress. Totally get that. You don't have to be all involved and stuff, but you know, or like you're complaining about the school board, but like you never been to a school board meeting, or all these different things. And it's like, you're the movement.
People do this in politics all the time. They complain about, like, I hear it from all the different people from the wildlife and hunting community and fishing community. They start complaining and get on their soapbox. Like, I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe.
Yeah.
But they don't even know who their representative is.
No, they don't. No,
because I'll ask them.
Yeah.
And then they don't even fucking, I was like, well, and as Dan says, you're part of the fucking problem.
Yeah,
like,
part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I 100% agree with that, you know, and it's just, it's kind of crazy to it's just first world problems.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so easy to be alive now, you know, in our country, and we not
take
over
it
the
for
world.
granted.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, poor and fat go hand in hand, and that doesn't even make sense. Like, how are you obese and poor?
Yeah.
And you know, like all the excuses people want to do. I just think that society, we're too used to like coming up with an excuse for something and trying to justify this person's absolute fucking delusion and mental health issues. And then we make it about something different. It's like, no, well, fat people or poor people can't buy. I'm like, stop. I was poor as fuck. We ate rice and beans every single meal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to be healthy and do things and all, and whatever the aspect is. And
well,
I think
heard
it's just easy to be alive.
I heard something recently because they were talking about Doge, and I can't remember where I heard this. If I heard it on a podcast or it was on the news or something, and they were talking about, you know, food stamps, which now is like another EBT card or something like that. They were talking about limiting what you could buy with that because of those choices, which is also now you're stifling freedom. So it's like this tricky
but Pepsi
type.
and Coke dumped a bunch of money into it.
Yeah, but 20% of food stamps
is soda.
Soda.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is the most horrible shit for you.
And Pepsi and Coke dumped a bunch of money into that program to make sure it would stay where they're not going to tell you what you can and can't buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same. So like, I'm one of those dudes who's like, you know, like full transparent. I'm gonna tell you some vices, some white trailer trash, fucking res kid shit that I like.
I learned at your mom's trailer.
Whether it's like, whether you want to call it ghetto, like, you know, res kid shit or white trash.
I started following that one res kid that does the positive shout out and like the little war cry after.
Live in Montana.
So badass.
Yeah, that little kid. He's a high school kid. I love Coke Zeros, and I like smoking cigarettes, you know?
Yeah.
And I try to tone down the, and our Doc Kate actually kind of helped me with some of this, but I did some nicotine protocol for my last,
I just popped in a pouch.
For a TBI I had. And all the research is basically, it's just like, doctors love nicotine. They just hate the delivery system. Like there's just not a great delivery system for it. So my favorite thing to do is I like rolling spliffs. So like I don't take, I'm I'm 100% disabled. I have most of my injuries are brain related. I do have a lot of like neurology or nerve damage and things like that. I took a big fall lead climbing in 2016. I fell about 30 feet. And I got like a big whiplash injury like when I hit the end of the rope. And so like my C6 and C7's like out of whack and always got to get worked on and kind of messed around. But I've got a lot of like nothing other than like I have this weird stomach disease that I'm like, but other than that, it's just like, I'm all banged up, whatever. The VA tries to prescribe me 22 different medications and to include opioids, SSRIs, like you name it, like I can get it. It's nuts. And the VA, like I could call if I can get them to answer the phone. I can literally be like, hey, I need more oxy. And they're like, yeah, whatever. We'll mail it to you. You know, I think I'm going to get it.
Wow.
Just straight mail it to me. And I don't take any medications. I use marijuana. I have a medical grade water device. And I try to like eat as clean as possible. I'm about like, I don't know. I think this is like an oxymoron to say I'm like 90% carnivore. I eat like, like some Greek yogurt and milk and cheese and fruit and stuff like that.
That has done so much for me cognitively.
Yeah. And every now and then, like I'll do, like
and inflammation
bread or straight up. So all those things I try to do, like be very well-rounded as far as like my diet, my exercise, like all these things that keep me going. I'm 45, I'm young, you know what I mean? Like when you look at it. And I do think it's really cool to see like all over the internet, these like 50 and 60-year-old men just like jacked, crushing it. Like I'm on TRT. Yeah, I'm on fucking sauce.
Yeah.
I'm fucking have a medical grade water device.
Why not, man? Like I was apprehensive to do it. I was trying to get it naturally.
Doc Pate, dude, saved my life. Man. Changed my life, bro. I'm telling you.
Having a fighter, I had Chris Camozzi sitting in here. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a great dude. And sitting here with him and he's just like, why don't you just do it all, dude? It's not like... Like, all right, well, fuck it.
Yeah, so I, when I was retiring, I went to, and I'll tell a long story here, like I always do.
Dude, we got time. If you got to be out of here by a certain time.
No.
Okay.
So I went from I started out my special forces career in 3rd Special Forces Group, and that's Fort Bragg. Everybody talks shit about groups, but like, there's not a motherfucker Ranger, SEAL, CAG. No one will tell you like their group, like especially the times I was there, were like, yeah, them the motherfuckers, right? And yeah, there's haters all over, but like that's what we did in 3rd group, and 5th group, 7th group at the time, like back and forth, but like 5th group was just known for just being like, these dudes are killers, man. And I spent my first part of my career, my Special Forces career, in 3rd Special Forces Group. I was on ODA 3311. I was a senior Echo. And 3rd Group and 10th Group switched areas of responsibility. So 3rd Group had always just been in Afghanistan for the longest. Afghanistan started to close down. We started to pick up the ISIS stuff in Iraq, and I was actually in Iraq. And my mom was real sick, and my group sergeant major came out to see us and kind of asked me about my mom. And my team sergeant was already like, yeah, dude, like, tell him everything, And he was like, you want to go to 10th group? Because he was going to get me closer to home so I could, like, my mom could use, like, medical marijuana. And, like, we were just like, well, we'll just bring her to Colorado. So he's like, I do that shit all the time, dude. He's like, I literally just had a guy in 7th group. His wife was hit by a car running and got killed. And so I moved him from, I think he was in 3rd group or maybe 5th group. No, it was a 3rd group guy. And they sent him to 7th group because he had like her in-laws, like he had family support system there. He didn't have any of that at Fort Bragg. So they're like, dude, too easy. We want to keep you happy and keep your family happy and help you. So same thing, Sergeant Major just took care of me. He was like, yeah, easy, man. We can send you to 10th group. So I ended up switching to 10th group. And the mentality and the mindset in 10th group was not even close to the same it was on 3rd group. In 3rd group, it's like everyone was just this fucking warrior, like the mindset. And me and you get in an argument, it's like, take that shit outside. We go outside, we punch each other in the face a few times, we hug it out, drink a beer over it, and we never talk about it again. In 10th group, it was like gossip, like everybody in the hallway. It was just a little weird. And I one of the things that an old Delta Sergeant Major told me when I was very young in my career, he said, understanding your operational environment is one of the most important things you can do as a special forces guy, as a Green Beret. Meaning sometimes you need to roll your sleeves to your elbows and look like a cool guy. Sometimes you need to wear a suit. Sometimes you need to wear your uniform AR 670-1 standards and have everything the way it's supposed to be for the regular Army. And understanding when and where you need to do those things, and when and where you need to be the politician versus the warrior, or this or that. Like, understand your operational environment. How do I actually accomplish the tasks I need to do? I kind of just like fell off of that a little bit because of people's mindset, and I just took everybody for being a pussy. I was like, man, fuck these pussy motherfuckers. And it was just like, and I was just angry, man. And I ended up getting into it with one of my team sergeants, and they ended up kicking me off that team, and I went to the S3, the battalion. The company sergeant major, or the battalion sergeant major, or the S3 sergeant major at the time. He really liked me. He knew he was an old school, like badass dude from 10th group that had like been in Iraq, all this heavy Iraq stuff. But they had a big like gap in like how many guys were going to war in 10th group versus like 3rd group. It was like every single year you're going to combat. Whereas 10th group, they weren't doing that. So he was the one, he was like, kind of took me under his wing a little bit. And he was like, I think you should go to the TBI clinic. And he was the first person to like kind of notice that, like, I think your brain injuries are like, I was just beyond aggressive. Like, if you showed any kind of weakness, like, I was like, I treated you, I didn't give a fuck if you were the company sergeant major. If you showed any kind of weakness, I treated you like you were a day one new guy that was a pussy. And I didn't give a fuck who heard me, who was around me, nothing, didn't care. So the guys who had my attitude and like that. The guys who didn't fucking hated it. Right. And I just didn't understand my operational environment. They're like the two dynamics between these groups. I needed to, if I wanted to motivate guys and be a warrior and bring that warrior mindset, I needed to figure out a different way to do that. So Matt McGuffin sends me to the TBI clinic, and I start down my journey of like figuring more stuff out. And I'd been in it in 3rd group and got blown, all this that happened and whatever, but it wasn't the same. It was like, and this is like 2016 or 17 when like we're still like, we're getting better at brain stuff, but we don't know a ton yet still. We were about 12, 13, we really started like studying it and taking these, like before deployments, we'd take like these cognitive brain tests and then take them back again after deployments.
Oh, really?
We'd wear like these like sensors on our helmets that like if they turned a certain color, that means you had like overpressure exposure and all this shit. But like everybody's was orange. It was like, dude, you shoot one thing, it's like everyone's fucking orange. It's like, okay, we're all fucking idiots.
Yeah.
So this was my first like starting to go down that and really understanding like, oh shit, like I'm kind of fucked up here. Like part of me was like, I know I'm not, and part of me is I know I'm not fucked up. They're fucked up.
Like when you say fucked up, can I ask you a question real quick? When you say fucked up, was it making you more aggressive, you think?
Yeah, I was aggressive.
Like to be more on edge?
I was aggressive, but the thing was I never felt that in 3rd group. Like my aggressive attitude and stuff was never an issue for anybody, ever. Everybody was like that. So I didn't feel like angry when I was in 3rd group. I was fucking angry when I was in 10th group. Like I was fucking angry, dude. So I start going to TBI clinic and then really start to realize like, hey, maybe like I can probably tone it down a little bit or find a different way to try to motivate some of these guys and whatever. But that's when I really started getting heavily involved in a TBI clinic, getting dry needling, doing like all kinds of shit. She said one of the docs sent me when my left eye wasn't tracking, like I couldn't get it to track like on lasers and follow each other, and it was just weird. And it was like my eye was starting to sag a little bit, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna send you to go get an eye exam." And then I go to do this eye exam, and the eye doc, she goes, I wasn't in uniform or anything, and she's looking at my eye, and she's like, "What do you do in the Army?" And I was like, I'm a Green Beret, I'm a Special Force. She's like, "Of course you are." She like puts this stuff in my eye, and she pulls out like a piece of shrapnel. I don't know what it's from, breaching or whatever, but I had a piece of metal in my eye. I don't know how long it had been in there. So that was causing like the stigma from my eye to like get stuck and not move and track, and it was just jacking my eye up. So there was like some health issues of like those kind of things that like kind of probably led to like me just being like ultra, like ultra sensitive and like just or not sensitive, like just quick. Like my fuse was so short, dude. So that helped me a ton. And then being in S3, being operations really helped me to like, I was kind of removed from the guys a lot. So it kind of helped me like figure it out. Like, what do I need to bring? Fortunately, it was like, I started out like, oh, you're off this team. But then it was like, I was literally going to like group. I was like the battalion S3 Sergeant Major for group, like doing meetings and all kinds of shit. Like I worked my way through battalion in a short, probably like 6 month span. And then, and the reason why I say I was acting was when I, Sergeant Major stuff went around, I had to fill in for that. But then I basically got to pick which ODA I wanted, which was really cool. So like towards like October, I got there in January. So by like September, they're like, which team do you want? And I got to pick, I wanted to be a team sergeant on a mountain team. So I got to pick, and it was just a different experience. I still had some problems with some of my guys that were the 10th group guys. Like half of my guys loved my mentality, and the other half were just fucking pussies, to be straight up, to be honest. Like it wasn't, at this point, I had changed like how I was going to direct my aggressiveness and my warrior culture and that nature towards people. And I do look back on it. I mean, I had 50-50 dudes that were just studs and awesome, and half that were just like, they just weren't fucking hard. They were not on my level and couldn't handle me.
Could you pick them out like right away, or was there any commonalities between the guys that were studs and the guys that weren't?
Oh yeah. The commonality is like, and this is what I say, and I don't know about SEALs and other guys that are dynamics, but it seems like from what I've been around and working with them operationally, the commonality is like, what I always say in Special Forces is every single ODA should have an E7 on their team, regardless of the MOS, a senior guy, senior Bravo, Charlie, Delta Echo, whatever, that's willing to go into the hallway and fight any motherfucker in the hallway, to include the commander, the company sergeant major, any team, doesn't matter. Like, to just be like, fuck you. And like, not for childish shit, but like, you're messing with my team, you're messing with my guys, you're doing this, you're something that's like
an enforcer.
An enforcer, dude. But he also doesn't have to do this on his team. Like me as the team sergeant, like I shouldn't have to say anything to anybody. If I'm saying stuff to people, like shit's fucked up. There needs to be senior guys that I can be like, Bobby, you need to fix this shit. And you're like, and you feel like shit, and you're like, fuck yeah, I gotta fix this. So you fucking hammer the dudes. You fucking give them the thrashings and be the enforcer and do those things to uphold the standards. The team dynamics in Special Forces always really depends on the team sergeant. If you have like a really fit, badass team sergeant, the team is usually like fit and badass and like does all the things. If you have a fat, lazy team sergeant, the team's fat and fucking lazy, period. Now, there are some teams that keep on to those, like I said, that E7. Every badass team I've ever seen in the hallway and anywhere I've ever been had a guy like that. And I had one of those guys. His name's Ryan Conway. He's a warrant officer in 3rd Group now. And Ryan was my senior Charlie, and he was that guy for me. But I had other guys on my team that were just soft and didn't like it and fucking cried, and But at the same time, it's like, my whole point was like, during that time, be like, what's your excuse? Like, I'm doing everything with you. I'm leading. I'm like, you're not faster than me on runs. You can't beat me on rucks. Like, you can't. We fight. You act like a pussy. Like, I would just try to lead as much as I can from the front. And being the old dude, it's like, yeah, these guys should. And there were guys that crushed me. Like get.
But that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you want. I've always been really good at rucking. So like, rucking is kind of one of those things. Like, if you don't like. You're not like an ultra marathoner, like you're probably not gonna like hang with me,
Yeah.
And that's just a talent like that I had, that blessed to have that, just to be able to go with something on my back, and that's just the one stupid retard strength skill I got in life, to just be able to walk, forever. Yeah. But that was a big thing for like team dynamics for me and what I've saw. And a big part of my journey to understanding like my brain injuries and what happens and just kind of understanding my operation environment. And I don't know if I would have stayed in 3rd Group if I would have understood my brain and how it was going to affect my mental health into retirement as well, because I don't think I would have had anybody that told me that I needed to go see the wizard. Like, you know what I mean? Like in 3rd Group, I was normal. And again, I wasn't angry in 3rd Group. And I don't know if did something happen to me when I was in Iraq? Did like, I don't know. Did I get another TBI to kind of just straw that broke the camel's back and I wasn't kind of tracking it or noticing it or whatever? But that really opened up my eyes. And then right when I was getting ready to retire, I met Kate Pate through mutual friends, and she was doing all the white paper stuff on operator syndrome, and like, so I got to see how I was acting at a certain point in my career that fit all these things that was what they're describing in operator syndrome. And
can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I have a mild understanding of it because you and I have talked about it before.
Yeah. It's basically like you operate at such a high level that like sometimes normal things to you just don't even like they don't do anything for you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like the analogy would be like somebody who if you do like Coke and you're like on this crazy high level from doing Coke all the time, like a cup of coffee doesn't shit to you. Like fucking coffee. I'm gonna do some Coke.
Yeah.
By the way, I've never done any drugs besides mushrooms and weed, but don't knock it. But well, I mean, I do knock it. Like, I don't think you should do cocaine and other drugs. But
no, you absolutely should not. Speaking
no.
from a guy that has experience.
Oh yeah, I was like, I've never, you know, it's just now I've never done it. But that was kind of the, you know, when you look at it that way, operator syndrome, it's like you're operating at these crazy high levels. So your adrenaline, what actually like turns you on and gets you off, and like the way you feel, you can't experience these feelings in the real world. Like it's almost impossible. So you have this like, you're super spontaneous. You have like your depression levels are just fucking like a heart monitor, you know, like just up and down because you have a broken brain. The thing that makes your brain feel highs are these extremes that most people will never even understand. And even in training, I don't think people understand like how dangerous and how crazy and the shit we do in training. Like people see these cool videos of like dudes like getting off the side of the helicopter and like running through the house and shit. I'm like, yeah, that's a fucking Wednesday. So like now that's not even real shit. Like it's not even a real mission, but that's normal. Like all those things. So now it's like, you're not going skydiving, you're not riding helicopters, you're not fucking shooting guns, like doing all these things. And it just gets where like normal life is like gay as hell. It's like, this is whack. Shit's lame.
Yeah.
So like, and then you have these depression things and you don't know how to balance any of it out, whether it's your home relationships with this, with that. So you use coping mechanisms, and those coping mechanisms typically are very extremes and like into alcohol or into extreme sports and crazy riding your motorcycle and blah, blah, whatever.
Sex. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, yeah. Whatever, you know, there's vices in these extremes. And I'm really butchering operator syndrome here. And with all those things, you know, when like somebody like Kate Pate can put that all together, she's understanding what the brain is doing to create all these problem sets. And that is what's really closely tied to veteran suicide, in particular, the special operations community, because guys have these extreme highs and lows, and we have this very spontaneous, like, I'll just fucking do it. Like, I think most people think like these guys, like when you
make a decision, execute, right?
Most guys, when you hear that, like make a plan for committing suicide, or like, to be honest, like not a knock on them, like they're like regular army dudes. Mm-hmm. Dudes like my buddies and people I know that kill themselves, it's like, what he killed? Like, it's just like, holy shit, you know, so-and-so killed himself. Yeah. There's like no sign, they saw him next day. It wasn't like given, you know, all the suicide prevention stuff
happened
you ever
to
got.
me this last year. I was like, yeah. Somebody that I never ever would have guessed.
Yeah, no. And so it's like all the Geo.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, like, so the signs of like that you hear, they like educate you, like, oh, they'll be giving stuff away, and none of that. And it literally, like, if I could think about those guys or like him, you know, and my buddies that have done it, it's like,
well, it's crazy about him, and not really to bring it up, is like, if somebody asked me who's the most confident human you know, it would be him.
Yeah, he's a cocky fuck. I like that. Yeah.
I miss that. You know?
Yeah. No, I think it's just that the operator syndrome is just literally like, it's just switches, dude, that have you to be like, well, fuck it, yeah, I'm fucking feeling shitty, especially if you're drinking or you're depressed or you're in one of those extreme lows where like, and so for me, I try to tell guys, like, you got to be able to say timeout. So anybody who has a brain injury, period, like when we talk about a lot with a lot of the ladies who've been in our program we work with, because a lot of them have had, whether it's through horses or getting the snot kicked out of them, like they have brain injuries. And TBIs change the way your emotions and how you process things. And like sometimes you just got to tell yourself, like, I have a broken brain. And sometimes, like, my life's so awesome, but I'm like, why am I sad right now?
I think it's really hard to recognize too.
Yeah.
And I think another correlation that I've kind of figured out a little bit is like the moment that these guys start to feel like they're a burden on somebody is huge. Yeah. Whether it's their family or whatever.
But I think that is the thoughts that creep in on the extreme lows. Mm-hmm. And then if you're drinking or you financially something happened, just something, it can just be something small tweak that it's just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just put a pistol in my mouth.
Well, talk to any cop.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like 99% of the bad shit that they experience is because somebody's been using drugs or alcohol or like there's some other influence, cognitive influence involved.
Sleep is a huge one. Sleep depth. And that, you know, just what I've learned about all those things. But yeah, I'm sure if Doc Pate listens to this, my analogy to, so basically operator syndrome is like regular people drink coffee and we do fucking cocaine.
I want to have you and Doc Pate on at the same time.
I would love, one thing I was thinking about, to be honest, like cool podcast. I think if we had me, Cody, and Doc Pate, because you get the side to see of professional athlete, like, you know, Cody's had significant brain issues and brain trauma and things that happen to him too. And like showcasing, like showing that. Cause I think sometimes, especially for me, going through the TBI lab, and then I got to go up to the Denver Broncos facility and do a bunch of work with them. You see the correlation for that, like the special operations guys are like professional athletes. And then we say that, but no one gives you like, you know, no one has like gratitude or understanding of that. And I think that is important to kind of understand for both sides, because I think that the professional athlete realm and the science and what they do has so much to offer us, but we also have so much to offer them when it comes to like, when you're done with this, like you're done. Like there's no, you know, when you're done playing football,
you're not going on target anymore.
No. Like when you're done playing football, like you're done playing football. Mm-hmm. Now, if you could do broadcasting or stay in the game, or that's kind of like contracting or what, like there's things that kind of like linear, I don't know how to say this word, like, you know, that are kind of on the same parallel that like retired, you know, special operations guys do and retired, you know, NFL players do, whether it's like I said, broadcasting or coaching or whatever, right? Or for like
protection,
you know, UFC, protection, coaching, like a lot of it's kind of the same, like lane, if you will, like on a linear scale. So I think we can learn a lot from each other when it comes to brain injuries and how you're processing them and the highs and lows, because, you know, there are another set of people that, you know, have a high.
Well, let's do it. Rate. Let's tee it up. Let's do it soon too, man.
Yeah,
I gotta figure out a setup to have 3 guests though. Right now we're set up for 2. We'll figure out something though. We can do it. That's easy. Just more cameras and mics, you know. No big deal.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, that would be amazing to do that, because there is a huge correlation in that. And that was my rock star analogy, because that's why I say you guys are more rock stars than rock stars. Like rock stars or even road guys like myself, when I was touring hard and heavy, it's almost like you're going on a deployment, and there's no comparison, right? Like I'm not comparing the two jobs, but like it's just ultimate highs. You're just traveling city to city. You're walking out to these huge crowds. There's concussion grenades that start shows. Like, it's fucking fun, man. It's a lot of fun to be around that. And there's a lot of debauchery and there's a lot of,
it's almost like a make-believe world.
It is.
Like you like got to play a part in, and like other people can't understand it. And they glamorize it, but only the positive is glamorized.
Yeah.
And I think that's just in anything, you know, like no one understands the work behind it. Like, you know, everything that it takes.
Being surrounded by alphas too, I think, is a big thing, because in the normal world or going to your kid's school program, There might be one other guy.
Dude, I'm never anywhere, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm some badass dude. I never go anywhere and I'm like, ooh, that guy's scary.
Right.
I'm usually just like looking around the room and I'm like, who the fuck else is gonna fight with me if some shit goes down in here? Like, you know,
I'll take that guy with the neck tattoos.
I look at the dudes who I'm like, I try to look. I like when you see like a favorite is when you see like a dad show up and he's wearing like a lime green construction shirt and his hands look like baseball.
Yeah,
like,
man.
That guy right there, dude.
100%,
you know?
dude, yeah.
But it's just, I think that you're right. It's just where we live at, you know. And unfortunately for me, I get to be around like awesome, like alpha male cowboy, you know, very like manly, you know, what still considered manly is men. So
and
that's a lot
that's
different,
a community that still embraces it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In a very like gentlemanly, manly way too, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Like, whereas I think the disconnect with the rest of society that's not in the Western world, like actual, like real working cowboys, who grew up in that like rooted system of honor and respect, especially for women. I think that it's almost, it's like weirdly fake. There's a lot of like the Andrew Tate shit and like, or whatever, that kind of stuff. And there's stuff people say that make a lot of sense and I agree with, but for the most part, it's like, you're fake or you're just a bully and it's not real. And I'm definitely not with
clickbait is what it is.
And I'm definitely not with the disrespect to women type stuff. I hate that. And you know, even if she's disrespecting herself, that's not for you to bring up or say, or like those podcasts where they bring on like a bunch of OnlyFans girls and talk shit to them. It's like, yeah, okay, bro. Like, you know, just a lot of that. And I hate the like, I've always hated bullies. So I hate the like tough guy, you know, type of like that brash. And you know, I'm not great friends with I have like a lot of my guys that I'm buddies with, you know, from the special operations community, but I don't even like being around dudes that act like that from my community. You know, I'm like,
right.
Yeah,
I don't either.
You're fake. I'm like, get the fuck away from me. But it's just, I think that there's this weird with society being so anti-male that we have like created this like fake, like if you have to say you're an alpha male, like you're a pussy, you're not an alpha male. Like this is weird. Like what are we doing? But like there's this kind of this fake, like, you know, men need to stick up for men, which I agree, but I also think it's just kind of rooted in like this weird fakeness. It's not like organic.
I think it goes back to that lead by example.
Yeah. Because my thing is
that's
like
the only thing you can do. Go to wrestling class, go to the range, go to do whatever you're trying to sharpen your skills. I think
it comes from like this white collar world now where like everybody can do stuff behind a computer and, you know, just the blue collar jobs aren't the same. It's like, I guarantee you the guy who picked up your trash this morning, those two dudes driving that truck slinging trash cans, don't talk about how they're alpha males.
Yeah.
They're the dad that when we're at an event, I look at and he just looks at me. He's like, he kind of nods his head like, yeah, that's all right. Like, and I think it comes from life is so easy and jobs are so soft that these guys have to create toughness. It's like, no, just do a fucking tough job. Like do something that makes you tough. And they create this like fake gym
world.
Gym says shit and like bro stuff. And it's just like, dude, you can't even change a fucking tire.
Well, there's people that are building businesses on it, right? Like putting guys through boot camp or whatever.
There's some Navy
40-year-old dudes,
like $12,000 a weekend. Like fucking.
Hey, kudos to man if that's what guys need. I guess,
like,
but
whatever.
like, fuck, man, that's not for me, dude.
Yeah, totally.
Can we talk about? Because I'm always like super interested in this, and you brought it up at the beginning. 2 hours ago.
Oh shit! Nice.
Is counting coup.
Yeah.
Like, because it's that culture is so fascinating to me, and I know it varies from tribe to tribe and stuff like that. But when it comes to counting coup, what is kind of the premise? It's basically testing yourself, and then being recognized for it.
Yeah. So, for how I was raised, and this is gonna be a little weird for when I explain it. So my mother is Apache by blood because of the boarding school system and how I removed everything she was. My mother is adopted by a Assiniboine tribe. So I grew up only like knowing, I didn't even really know I was Apache until I was like older. Like my mother like told us the story. But like we just grew up on a Assiniboine powwow, Assiniboine tribe, the red, like we just thought we were Assiniboine. So the stuff I know is from that culture and that tradition. I have some stuff like I tried it. I feel kind of like almost felt what's the word, cringy doing it, but I wanted to do something to like honor my culture, honor like warriors. Natives serve in the armed forces at a higher rate than any other race in our country, of 3%. You know, where everybody else is less than 1%.
Really?
By race, yeah. So Native Americans serve, and we've served in every conflict since King Philip's War all the way, through. Special Forces was started off the King Philip's War the skulking way when the Pilgrims and the Mohawk and the Mohican banded together to fight the Wampanoag. So it's not as black, it's not as red versus white. It's the things.
Well, even the Ranger Regiment, right? Is
correct.
Kind of
that's the skulking.
Like, what was that? John Fox, the Patriot.
Robert's Rangers.
Yeah.
So those guys use the skulking techniques. So that's how it all started. So King Philip's War, before the French and Indian War, they had already started like a specialized unit utilizing guerrilla warfare and utilizing native tactics. So for me, I want to do that photo shoot where I like put on my uniform and like, so I have war paint on. I just camo on my face, but I have my grandfather's Coup stick. And
that's cool.
So that staff, from what my grandfather told me, was in battle, it was like the ultimate way to humiliate another man. Would be like, so instead of killing you, instead of like riding up on my horse or me and you are fighting or we're this big battle, instead of like just smacking you with a tomahawk or something or jumping off my horse and we're wrestling it out, stabbing each other. It's like, how many dudes could I just smack the shit out of with this Coup stick and then ride off and not be touched? Mm-hmm. So it was like the ultimate like, fuck you, you're a pussy. Because I could have killed you if I wanted to.
War games. It's
exactly what it is, war games. So it's like, so it was a way to, just kind of play games with each other in a way with your enemy. Yeah, they would, go on all out fights and wars and things, but it was also a way to just like, yeah, man, like I got you.
Right.
So that's what that counting coup means. Counting coup is not killing somebody. Counting coup is like, for me anyway, that was, you're actually, now I do believe that
you're putting yourself in a position where you could have killed somebody, but you chose not to.
Yeah.
To embarrass
So
them.
I do believe there's other ways too, that I think when some people say counting coup does mean like that they've actually like killed people. I could be wrong. I know that there's the story of Buffalo Calf Road woman. She's the one who knocked Custer off his horse in the Battle of Greasy Grass, Little Bighorn. And she counted coup on him. She fucking knocked him off his horse and hit him with a coup stick. It's like the story that like my grandfather told me. Because his great grandfather was at the Battle of Greasy Grass.
Really?
Yeah. He lived to be like 110, and he actually he died when he was like 110. He fell out of a buckboard on his way to Bozeman, on way into town to go buy supplies, and fell out of the wagon and broke his neck.
Wow.
Yeah, he
at 110 years old?
Stood up to fix something, and the horse moved, and he fell out of the buckboard and broke his neck and died. But he was like 110. Yeah, and he was this old warrior who fought Custer and fought all in the Indian wars. Man. Yeah. Yeah, so like the type of Indian is the Assiniboine, they call them like the Yankton Sioux as well, which means throat cutters. And the French trappers called them Assiniboine because they carried obsidian knives. Mm. And like Chief Joseph, the reason why he didn't make it into Canada, like he, got caught right before they hit the border, was he hired the wrong scouts. He had Crow scouts, and all the Assiniboine killed all his scouts, and they got lost and never made it to Canada. That's the real story.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm sure someone else will argue with it who's Crow or something like that. Right. I'm like, oh, sure.
Well, there's so many different meanings. Like you said, there's, what did you say, 571 tribes?
571 recognized. I believe it's 571, 572, something like that. But it's over 570, I believe.
Right, and they're all kind of their own cultures.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them are like same bands or same, parent tribe or different family groups or whatever. But yeah, I mean they're all different, and the area you live in is dependent on what you are. So like a lot of people forget, Hawaiians are Indians, right? Like Hawaii is a giant Indian reservation, to be honest. And you look at that where it's like the Indians in San Diego, it's like, well, why are they so close to Hawaiians? Like the real ones, like they look seafaring and fishermen and this and that. And as you go in different places, they all have a different way they live off the land, which also guides tradition and what they honor and what they do. And, whether they were great at farming or they were in a really fertile area where they could, harvest, food and those things, or were they just in the plains following buffalo, or were they in the forests of like Ohio and that Ohio River Valley type stuff? And everything changes on like how they, what they did and what they honor. Like, the horse didn't get here until the Spaniards brought it.
Right.
And I do know the Nez Perce say, and I don't know if it's true and what's going on, but I know the Nez Perce say that they had the Appaloosa before the Spaniards came, and they could have. I mean, but you look at that and it's like they didn't go west of the Mississippi or east of the Mississippi, right? Mm-hmm. So like the Spaniards, all the Mustangs, all the horses they brought, this is why the West is like way different. Whereas like the only other, the first cowboys, the first like people to be cowboys technically was in Florida when Ponce de Leon brought cattle to Florida. And then the Seminoles, those Indians there, basically just kind of became like, they're the only Indians that never surrendered to the United States. They're also the richest tribe in the United States. They own the Hard Rock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those motherfuckers have like gated communities. It's dope, dude. I went down there recently and I was like, holy cow. But they been running cattle and doing that. And they ran all the cattle during the Civil War for the Confederacy and like huge cattle operations down in Florida. But other than that, like they were using like they call them little cracker horses now, but basically what it was is like the Lusitano horses that the Spaniards brought over and kind of modified for the swamp. They're a little hardier, like a Mustang kind of.
Okay.
But that's where you see like, other than that, I mean, everything else was like English, the white settlers brought their horses over. Yeah. So you even see a different type of horsemanship and what they are. It's why like the Plains Indians are horsemen and like the other natives, they're not horsemen. They don't have that in their same culture.
Right. It was part of the skill set, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like when you look at the nuance of just the difference between being in the forest, to being in the mountains, to being there, like they're all different. So for me, I mean, that's really cool to be, be a part of my family. But at the same time, like, I think it's just, that is kind of like American history that I wish we lean more into. And it also goes with every single race in our country that has this really cool story to be proud of being American and who they are. And they do have this like warrior culture background, regardless of what race you are, from, how we built our country.
Yeah. No, it's super rad. I'm totally intrigued by it. I mean, being on some of these archaeological experiments with CU and Donnie and stuff like that has opened my eyes to it a little bit more, because I always just thought about it as like the modern Indian tribes, which were, 200 years ago to, 100 years ago.
Right.
But like even before that, like just Paleolithic man and like, all the shit that was going on there, man, it was pretty wild.
Well, I always say like it's cool when archaeology like supports what natives have been saying for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they found like the footprints and everything down like White Sands, and all the Indians were like, duh. We told you. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, what do you?
We've been telling you that story for
like we've been here, bro. Like, what do you mean? Yeah. So there's a lot of like cool, like I think things that, or like we were talking about religion earlier, and one of my, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like it's just, things just don't make sense when you boil down what, I think there's way more of the supernatural things involved in our planet and our world that the native community is way more in touch with, and in our country. And what you see is all over the world, the indigenous populations and the people who have been there rooted in that are connected to that. And it's the same with like, right now you see a lot of the weirdness going on like Ireland and England and all this of them. And it's like the native people there are white people, but like the Welsh and the Irish and these people have these deep, deep, deep roots for thousands of years. They have a different understanding of the land and who they are and just a lot of different things. You can take that all across the globe, whatever continent or area.
I think a lot of it is connections with animals too, because they were such a vast resource.
Yeah, it's just connected to nature. And like you really see like the farther we've gotten away, societies get bigger and bigger and bigger. The farther removed you get from where your food comes from, where your water comes from, where all these things that it really has this huge disconnect. And I think that in modern times right now, we have the biggest disconnect between what actual reality is and what is not reality. I would be willing to bet most Americans couldn't tell you where food comes from, or in all the fuck games everybody plays, like stamping USDA on stuff because it was inspected, but it's China beef or Indian beef. It's it's not fucking USDA beef.
It's crazy.
Just
or New Zealand,
just all the things that layers and layers and layers of stuff that we've done. But it's just the simpler life gets, the farther we allow ourselves to be removed from nature and just rooted in this like very I hate the word indigenous. My grandma said it doesn't exist in her language. So everybody says we're indigenous, but I always said Indian my whole life until I got on Instagram and they were like, you can't say that. But anyway, and we say NDN, Indian.
But the meaning of that, right?
What's that, Indian?
Yeah, it's the children of God, right?
Yeah, I've heard a bunch of
like
different interpretations, but I think it's just the farther we've gotten away from like the indigenous understanding, because they lived off the land, and I don't necessarily think it's this. You don't even have to break it down to this like deep spiritual level. It's just like people who live off the land and provide for themselves and have a different oneness and understanding of everything around them. And if you desensitize yourself to all those things and everything in your life is a bright light and right angles and this and that, like you're not going to have the same understanding and be rooted in the same, you're just out of balance. You're not
There's not
nature,
as much compassion there, I don't think.
No.
At all.
No.
Yeah.
I think we're just spoiled.
And I think that's kind of your premise with like War Party Ranch and stuff, right? Is like installing some of those values to help people, or women specifically, get through some turmoil or some TBI or whatever they're experiencing.
You said, it's rooted in a lot of rooted in nature. A lot of stuff we're doing is based in warrior skills, but also like with the intent to like do these things in nature and be, get you out and get you confident to do stuff, right? So like, and people would say like, well, how does self-defense or how does shooting, do that? And I'm like, yeah, but if I'm not scared I'm not scared to do things. I'm 210 pounds. Like I was a Green Beret. Like I'm not, but like a woman who has been through, whether it was, just emotional abuse, whatever, like, or just being a woman, being 5'3" and 110 pounds. Like, dude, do you think she's going to go hike by herself? Like, and nowadays it's almost sad to see the it'll never happen to me mentality with all the rich white ladies. And that's literally what it is, especially living here in Denver. It's like, oh, it'll never happen to me. Denver's literally like one of the most dangerous cities in the country. And they're like, it'll never happen to me. I don't need a gun. What? Fine. Run with scissors, lady. But, and I don't mean that for real. I hope nothing ever happens to those ladies. But what I will say is, especially when ladies have something done to them, their confidence of giving them a tool and helping them level the game to where it was like, you're going to fight Jeremiah. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to shoot him. I would too, right? You're going to fight this guy. Like, I'll just shoot him. So having the training and then, reinforcing that training to build confidence, it's more of a confidence booster to get you to, if we can teach you to shoot well and get you proficient where you want to carry your weapon, where you're going to protect yourself, maybe your children, your family, be an asset. really rooted in like situational awareness and like understanding your environment. And like the last thing we want to do is like,
I think that's the biggest skill set. Yeah, you just said it right there. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we have not pulling your pistol out and just leaving the situation, right?
We have a huge course that we do. Even in our shooting course, we spend a lot of time on situational awareness, running through different types of scenarios and understanding, the last thing I want to do is have to be in an altercation with somebody where I have to put my hands on them, use a knife, use a gun, whatever is going on. But I think that just given that in your back pocket, just like we talked about training and jiu-jitsu or wrestling and all these other things, it just gives you gives these ladies the confidence to do that. So to be able to go out in nature and to be able to do things, right?
And to hear it from ladies like Natasha or Taylor or whoever we've had on, or like those short videos that Natasha does on social media, like this is a good reason to go follow War Party Ranch and War Party Movement and.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think it's super rad. We have so much cool shit coming up.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Then let's wrap this up.
Yeah,
but
let's do it.
Let's give you definitely a timeline. Spend as much time as you want on this.
So I'll break everybody down. And it's been 4 hours, so who knows who's going to hear this. I'm just messing around. So the 26th and 27th of April, we're teaching a pistol course in Grand Junction. What we did was this is our first course open to civilians. And to be honest, I haven't had anybody sign up. Like I haven't been marketing. I have zero content for it. And really that's our fault because we were just training tribal law enforcement before and the War Party Ranch ladies. And I'm not taking content of that kind of stuff or trying to self-promote there. But what we did was we looked at it and said, hey, where's the missing gap between what we see a lot of these courses that are run for concealed carry and shooting? Where do I think they go wrong, or what are some of the tweaks? And the thing is everybody wants to be a cool guy, right? Like everybody wants to train in kit and do all this other shit. But the reality is you're going to get in a gunfight or in an altercation what you have in your pockets. The most likely scenario is within 3 feet in under 3 seconds.
That's insane.
Everybody. The average, the civilian who carries concealed has the same chance of getting in a gunfight than an undercover cop or an FBI agent does. The exact same percentage.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Now the cops might put themselves in a little more precarious position buying drugs or something like that. But when you look at the statistics, they're the same. The other thing is aggravated assault is the talking points they use in politics now. So no longer you do a drive-by shooting, you shoot somebody and he doesn't die. It's not attempted murder. It's not XYZ. It's aggravated assault. So because the sheriff and the politicians want to downplay everything so they can get elected, so it looks less dangerous. Okay. So the actual stats are pretty high. When you look up things, right? I just did a situational awareness class in Las Vegas and I looked up all these Las Vegas stats. And I think the one I can remember off the top of my head was in 2024, there was like 239 rapes. Like not just like sexual assault, but like, violent rapes, 249 they considered violent use of a weapon to manipulate the situation. But horrible. Per capita, of a plate, I mean, it literally boiled down to it was like 1 in 20, it was like 1 in 38 women or something like that. That number is to get to where that could be sexually assaulted.
And that's what's reported. That's the other thing.
It's like per 100,000. The report goes on like
how many go unreported?
Oh no, absolutely, especially when you talk about sexual assault. So there's always ways to show you like it's way more dangerous than you think. And so what we did was we were just training the tribal law enforcement, giving them free training. We looked at like some of the stuff we were experiencing there, teaching the ladies, the clinics, the shooting classes, like what could we do to step this up? So what I wanted to do was, because we do have War Party Ranch. That's the nonprofit. We have War Party Movement, which I really want to keep the veteran community and men and dads and like these guys involved in this. And I don't want to make this just for women. We were like, well, let's open up course up to everybody. So we did that.
Men or women?
Men or women.
Okay.
Again, I don't have a ton of content for it. So after we get done with this one's more like an investment, to be honest. And then I know for sure people will be like, they'll have FOMO bad when they see what we're doing. But, Also, the other cool thing is we don't charge law enforcement for training, for the tribal law enforcement for training. We don't charge like, other nonprofits or whenever we can assist them. So every 5 students that goes to our course pays for 1 woman from War Party Ranch, which is super cool. So what we're doing now is we're sponsoring ladies from War Party Ranch along with ladies from the board to come out and get them all trained. One of the instructors is Marissa Loren. She's the lead for self-defense for War Party Ranch. So what we're going to do here is really run through our course. The cool thing is I just have a bunch of like SF buddies and other dudes in the industry that are come run it with us and help teach and do stuff, but can also kind of pick us apart and be like, this is what was good, bad, whatever. But the intent is to get you to be confident in your everyday carry to like, and an example is like, I'd say it's a 70% solution for my wife. She doesn't like carrying a pistol because if she's not wearing jeans, she's like, well, it's uncomfortable as shit. I can't wear it in my yoga pants or what I'm wearing. So the 70% solution was like, I got her a fanny pack that makes like easy to quick draw, like as a zipper on it. She's like, I always carry my fanny pack, even if I'm not wearing, if I'm wearing jeans or something, yeah, I'll put my pistol in my pants. But like, this is the solution for her to always carry. So it's not 70%. Like, is it more effective to have it in my pants and be able to draw from there? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But is it still effective to have it in my fanny pack and draw from it? And she's always armed? Yeah, absolutely. So I say that to basically kind of break down the course and what our intent is we have everything, everything's from the concealed, but we also have intro to lights and blades and some other tools that you can use. But we're basically going from, regardless of your experience level. Now, yeah, if you're like a CAG operator, you're going to be like, yeah, it was a great course. I just shot faster. Like, you might not learn something. But for the 90% of the people, the 99.9% of the population is going to come to this and be like, man, I learned a lot. Or did really cool drills that allow you to go home and practice those. So what we have is everything's from the concealed carry, from the draw. The first day we work all the way up to night. You do some stuff at night, some night shooting. And then the second day we go into a little bit more shooting and moving. And that's the first.
Night is key.
Super key.
How many people run their handguns with no nights? Well, any sort of like glow sights on them.
And I always carry a little flashlight.
Yeah.
And it's a big deterrent too, to even be like, shine a light on me and be like, hey, get back, man. I got COVID, dude. I'm not trying to talk to you. And then like shine a light on me. Maybe I like turn the light off and change an angle. And so one of the things that I really have always stressed from special forces was fighting is fighting is fighting. You have angles, distance, and levels, right? You change those, whether it's like stand up with the spear, with the rock, like everything, you fight the same way. You're going to change the distance, you're going to change the levels, you're going to change the angles. So now that I have a gun, nothing is different. So we do a lot of things to show you on how you use that in cover. The other thing is like everybody just stands there and like draws as fast as they can. I'm like, well, I mean, that's a technique, but also like, what if I like stepped off? Like if I teach you how to stand in a fighter stance, how to move like a boxer does, how like a fighter does to like step drag, like the box drill you do on like day one of boxing, right? To do those kind of things, to give you a bunch of tools in your toolbox to dry fire and practice with that's practical, but also at a level of like, hey, if you're very proficient and you're doing it, you're gonna just go faster on the drill. Whereas like another lady who's her first time, drawing that way, she's gonna go slower and it's fine, and to build that up to that. So that's our goal: is this get you most efficient at the most likely thing to happen to you with it, which is an engagement at 3 feet in under 3 seconds. Phase 2, the next course we're gonna bring to the table after we get this one running a little bit, is we're gonna start adding more shooting and moving, a little bit more package handling, which is like, like the protection world of like, a lot of people ask that question: how do I protect my family? How do I maneuver in and out of places when I have my wife and kids with me? I practice this with my kids all the time. Mm-hmm. My daughter, Arizona, like even in the grocery store, restaurant or something, like best example is restaurant. She has to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, come on, I'll take you to the bathroom. And it's a busy restaurant, and I just say, Zona, link to me. She grabs the back of my belt, and she knows how to offset my feet, and she also watches and helps kind of pull security as we move to the bathroom. And I'm just moving. No one sees a kid behind me, so they get out of my way, and then they're out of my daughter's way. So we're training real-world application of like if something happened, I said, Zona, link to me. and I got my gun out and we're moving back to the vehicle or moving through some kind of threat or something that works. So a lot of
huge, because I think that's a misconception too, is there's lines in the sand, right? Where you don't want to be like shooting into your kid's bedroom.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Or my thing with the night, right? Like we teach carrying flashlights as well. So a lot of people like, yes, I love running a light on my gun. I have lights on all my guns except for my little tiny bodyguard. But think about it. If something happens, cracks off in your house, right? And you grab your pistol, you grab your badass tricked out fucking whatever it is. You know, for me, I run a Springfield Army 1911 red dot. Like it's 1911 operator. It's sick as fucking 45 you can buy, to me anyway.
Yeah.
But I love that bigger round. I run a 45, right? I have a light on it. So if I'm running through my house with that light and like the noise breaks and I fucking drive my pistol using my light to see what I'm looking at and it's my kid. Like, what if you're kind of freaked out, you're in a little homosexual panic, some shit's popping off in your house and you're running around in your fucking chonies, dude, with this big pistol in your hand and your daughter runs out and you're like, like what if, right?
Well, think about the non-rash decisions you make just getting up in the middle of the night to go get a glass of water.
Right. And I'm not saying that you would squeeze a trigger, but why are we even pointing that at your kid in the first place?
That's rule number one with a firearm,
correct?
Right? Or to even see what's going on.
Because a lot of people will say, well, I can use the ambient, like they won't point their gun like right at you.
That's bullshit.
And I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
So for me, what I really like about the light is I can search and look at stuff that's not my pistol pointing at you. Right?
Yeah.
So that's one. So I always tell people, like in home defense, like I love having a light that I can just grab and shine a regular flashlight so I can look. And then if I see something, I can drive my gun to it.
And those like surefire lights, just the little
I like the little stiletto, dude. I recommend it everybody. It's super flat, different modes on it. It's so bright when you hit it. The stiletto, so even for my wife, she's running, I always have a blade, a flashlight, and a pistol, period. Blade, flashlight, pistol. And I say, if you're a man, you need a lighter. You always have a lighter in your pocket, blade, some kind of knife. If you can't carry, a pistol or something, like having some kind of, and we kind of go over a little bit of this in our course, or like another one I always tell people is like a locking carabiner with your keys on it. That's the best brass knuckles no one can ever take away from you. With my background, I to be honest, I feel like I'd rather, for legal purposes, I think I would rather have to use my pistol, my firearm, versus having to fight with somebody with a knife or something.
Are you kidding me?
Because when you have training, it's going to be way more brutal to anybody else on what you're going to do. And my example of that is, do you see like the Real Half-Face Blades release when it was like the dude like showing how you really hit and strike all the arteries and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Well,
with like the karambit.
You're right. If you train that way, which I train for that stuff, we train for the military, right? Of like, especially with wrestling, like I'm going to tie you up and I'm going to like, it's going to be very brutal and horrible. And I'd almost rather like not have to do that, or people see that, or my kids seeing that or something, and just bam, bam. You know what I mean?
Like messy too.
Yes. Yeah. So, but all that to be said is we're just really excited to bring this to the table. And like I said, the phase 2 part of it is engagements from the clinch. So what you talked about before of, having like an airsoft pistol in your pants, and it's like me and you standing in front of each other, and it's like, all right, go. So you have to like
sounds fun.
Figure that out of like, how am I working through this problem set? I have Cody. I told him I want to work on this with him and like try to develop some really good TTPs for like a novice person to be able to practice. And even if it's just framing, against the wall, and you pretend like, so if you're right-handed, right, when I'm wrestling you, I love slapping a collar tie on my right hand. But if I only practice, if that's my draw hand, so like I need to practice like framing, and maybe I can use the wall to frame and lean against and learn how to pin my head and drive and do some of the smaller things from wrestling that I can even just dry fire. I can even just mess around with, but just at least you have to repeat it. The old phrase of you're never going to rise to the occasion, you're going to lower yourself to your training. If you've never done it, you ain't going to fucking do it. Yep. It's not just going to happen. So the baseline for what we want to do is teach our students
to be able to utilize the tools they have on them, to carry the right tools, the why behind some of the tools they're carrying, and then be able to implement those tools and have a lot of different things they can practice, realistic things. One other drill I'll share with you that I absolutely despise that people do is when you have multiple targets in front of you, so if you watch, and this, I'm going to break this down. So if you watch, what's that movie with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise, where he's the assassin? He's the assassin, and everybody, he has like the scene where he draws real quick and shoots two dudes really fast, and it's like everyone praises it, and it's so awesome.
Is Tom Cruise the assassin? Or?
Tom Cruise is the assassin. Okay. I forget, Collateral, right?
Okay.
Collateral. So on Collateral, when you watch that, the second guy fucking smokes him in real life. Because what he does is he draws and he puts 2 rounds in the first guy, turns and puts 2 rounds in the second guy. No. It's Thanksgiving. Everybody gets a helping. So if I got 3 bad guys standing in front of me, the drill you need to be doing is 1, 2, 3, and then come back and give everybody another extra helping like it's Thanksgiving.
That makes sense.
But everybody needs a scoop first, a serving first, before you put everything you want on your, you get seconds. So when you're even practicing those drills, or even putting targets in a corner, so one's standing this way, one's here, one's there, or putting targets in depth, those are all things that you have to, your brain needs to process, evaluate really fast, and get rounds down range. So in a real scenario, there's a lot of drills I think that people do that are either taken out of context or could be great drills, but there's reason behind stuff. And I think that too many people don't have the why behind some of the drills they're doing, and they just see a guy doing it, especially operators were the fucking word. And I'm not an operator. I hate that term. I say that because that's kind of the new, the norm for what people think special operation is. I didn't go to OTC. I'm not an operator. To me, that's always been green. That's always been the CAD guys. Those are operators. But that mindset and what they see from all these guys with this, so-called special operations experience, a lot of them, I think they just don't know what the drills they're doing. And then you have a lot of guys who, the one pump chump, and now they're fucking teaching some badass course. So the last thing I wanted to do was be a training company and say I was going to be a training company and all this other stuff. I just saw my buddy and the guys that are doing this with me, we just saw some gaps in what we know from places we worked.
I love the aspects too, the approach that you guys are taking just with like the flashlight. Because I even did this in rock and roll. I couldn't carry a gun with me when I was walking the band to stage, even though there might have been some guys with us that were carrying guns, but they were trained professionals, right? But even just having that flashlight as a stage manager, and you see somebody coming to like stop or high five, just hit them with that light, and they can't see shit.
Exactly.
And they're not going to see shit for the next 5 minutes either.
No,
I mean, that's a huge component.
And there's so much you can do with lights. I've always really liked lights and the utilization of lights. But really, like I said, we just want to come up with a way to train and create, like, be that you are the movement. And I wanted to give back to a lot of people who support us, and what cooler way of like we get to train together and learn. And then it also allows us to be able to give scholarships to War Party Ranch on the same side, as well as, being able to help pay my guys to go train,
plus the people that are taking the course are giving back kind of themselves by paying for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because they're paying for those scholarships. That's cool.
No, that's what I'm saying. So it's
a great concept.
For every 5 people that go through, we get one War Party Ranch lady, full ride through the whole deal. So that's been, really cool for us to build this out. And we're doing our first one the 26th, 27th of April in Grand Junction. Yeah. So
this will be out Friday.
Yeah.
So we'll make it in time. If you're listening to this now, how do people sign up?
Yeah, so it's just on the website. It's if you go to warpartymovement.com, it's literally under training.
Awesome.
That's War Party Ranch. But no, it's just on.
We'll have direct links too if you're listening to this in the show notes. To both War Party Movement, War Party Ranch.
That's it.
Yep.
Scroll down, you'll see training at the bottom. Right there. Yeah, so this is just our training course, what it outlines. I kind of give if you click on that, it does have like kind of a way more articulated version of what I put out.
Nice.
In there with the packing list and like everything it includes. Yeah, so we're really excited to be able to bring this. And like I said, the biggest opportunity for that is to be able to train with the community, get people involved in what we're doing. A lot of people ask like, hey, how can I help? And to be honest, it's like training yourself and training with us helps us so much because, we're doing all this training and search and rescue efforts and everything we're doing in the community behind the scenes that we're trying to get better at sharing. But a lot of it, I to be honest, we can't share a lot of the stuff that we have going on. So we know we can share this and we know that we can bring these ladies in, to be able to bring, I feel like the guys who always support us, they're just these a lot of girl dads and genuine dudes. And I think like having that mix of these ladies be able to train with these guys as well is always really cool because these guys get to see that like, oh shit, like they're not pulling, like they are what they say they are at War Party Ranch. Like, we don't pull punches. We tell you like it is. It ain't for everybody.
Right.
Like it's real training. It's hard shit.
Tough love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we're excited that Marissa's coming out for that one because the intent is she's going to kind of, take some of our program, what works for War Party Ranch, what doesn't, whether we condense that to 1 day, 2 days, however they want to run it. But this will really launch us forward to doing a lot more shooting clinics with War Party Ranch.
That's super rad, man.
Yeah.
Well, I stand behind everything that you're doing, dude. Thanks for all the amazing gifts.
Yeah, no worries, dude.
This is awesome. It's been great having you in here. Is there any other stuff you guys got?
No, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We'll be at a powwow in Elko. We sponsored a women's traditional event there. And then the next thing we've got in June, I'm sure Adam and Taylor will start putting stuff out, but we've got Adam and Taylor are the lead for hunting, and they're doing a hunting clinic in Grand Junction at the same ranch that we're using. So we'll bring a bunch of ladies in there and put on a 2-day hunting clinic, which we're really excited about. That's in June. We've got so many things going. 2nd of August, we've got a top hand cowgirl competition here in Colorado.
Nice.
We've got the golf tournament, some cool opportunities with some of that. And then as far as all the events that we have going on, the sponsorships we have available, people will start seeing application processes online. For the most part, what we've done is we just have slots available and we already kind of have ladies in the queue. And we'll send them the application and say, hey, does this match you? Like, can you make this requirement or timeline or whatever? But we're getting to now where we have enough events and, people helping us out with these events that we'll be able to start pushing out, applications to just kind of the internet, if you will, to be able to bring in more ladies, which is really cool. So that's our goal is to all these things kind of setting us up for what's going on. So I believe we will be dropping a application for the hunting clinic here soon, so we can try to get the ladies out to the hunting clinic.
Bro, I love having you in here. I fully support what you guys are doing. So anytime you need a platform or to plug something, man, you're welcome anytime.
You guys
we talked some good shit today, and we can do that anytime, man. So
I appreciate you, man.
Love you, man.
Yeah, love you too, bro.
Appreciate you making the trip and carving out a little over 2.5 hours for me today, man. It was a good time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.